Chapter 1990. That makes sense. Bai Gu left with the tray. Is it a ritual to talk to me with a tray? Why are all of them like this? Li Yi thought about Zhang Juling, who did not eat a single bite when he came over. Li Lang, can you leave behind 10 million to slow down the economic development? Princess Yongmu ate tofu pudding and drank spicy soup. Most of the imperial court's revenue should be invested in infrastructure. The rest should be in education and civil affairs. This year and next year, we will mainly deal with various problems in Henan province. The imperial court's money can't be found anywhere to spend it. We originally didn't have 10 million left, but we investigated a large number of people. The underground powers of Luoyang and the officials colluded with merchants. They were fined and confiscated. How rich? Li thanked those people. How many times have the newspapers emphasized that you committed crimes? You still don't know how to restrain yourselves. You can't control it, right? Once you accept bribes, people will report you? It was the same as his time. After every meeting, there would be officials who would continue to be corrupt. How can you stop when you want to? If you take other people's money and they report you, you're done for. You can only endure it. That was why he proposed that bribery should be punished severely. The goal was to protect the officials who were corrupt and wanted to turn back. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a single clean official in the entire country. If those who were in office and had achievements stopped in time, they could still be saved. The world wasn't black and white, including himself. He still had to bribe people in the Tang dynasty. That's right. Li Lang, Fan Fan and the others went to Bohai. Will they be treated as enemies? Princess Yongmu understood one aspect and started to worry about a large number of people. When there's no important situation, a telegram will be sent once a day with a secret code. If the telegram doesn't come, it means that there's a problem. It's not like there's only one telegram machine. They're being coerced. Just like the carrier pigeons in the southwest, there's a secret code. Tubo is stabilized. The later Turks are forced to Shaohai. The Shi tribe and Khitans are working hard to earn money. If Dezworong can't see the situation clearly and dares to use force, the 10 million left behind by the imperial court will have a place to go. Li Yi analyzed the situation. He believed that the Zhen king, Dezworong, knew what to do. Furthermore, the 5,000 southwest barbarians were led by the 100 winged knights. Even if the Bohai Sea wanted to kill them, their plan would be useless. The winged knights were trustworthy, and their first batch of members were very smart. Attack by force? There are more than 5,000 people with firearms. If Bohai Sea doesn't throw in 200,000 people, they can forget about having any effect. If they were forced into a corner, the 100 winged knights would rush straight into Dezworong's palace with the help of the southwest barbarians. Who could stop them? The southwestern barbarians used kukri blades in preparation for close combat. The winged knights had pistols, and when they charged into the palace at close range, they were ambushed by a group of pistols. Just as Li Yi thought, after Dezworong received the news, he led his subjects out to welcome them. Originally, he had a son who was a hostage in the Tang dynasty. Now his son was still in the Tang dynasty. It did not matter whether he was a hostage or not. His main purpose was to learn the culture of the Tang dynasty and some knowledge from the newspapers, so that he could go back and build his own country at any time. His mind was liberated. The more he learned, the less he dared to resist. This hostage's son had not taken over in history, but now he could take over. After taking over, he just needed to lead the people of the whole place to truly pledge allegiance. The more he learned, the more he understood that the power of the Tang dynasty was not something that could be changed by the will of the people. Li Endong and the other 5 people went forward to welcome them. Fan Fan did not move. He belonged to the winged knights, His Majesty's knife and bullet head. Why would diplomacy come to me? Of course, he selectively forgot that he had tried to persuade Bolero before. Dezworong was very enthusiastic. They had come to exchange things. Things that his tribe could not use were exchanged for things that were useful. It was not a loss, especially the antifreeze cream and bandages, which were very effective in resisting frostbite in winter. When the weather was cold, the hands and feet would be frozen, and there would be big blisters and pus after frostbite. It did not seem like a big problem, but in fact it could kill people. It was known from the newspapers that such wounds would be infected. People would have fever, talk nonsense, and finally die in pain. In the past, some people would die every year because of this. They watched their loved ones die, but there was nothing they could do. In addition, it was even more difficult to avoid death from typhoid. Later, some methods to prevent typhoid were written in the newspapers, and the Li family Zhuangzi was willing to exchange medicine. He could still work hard to learn other things through the newspapers, but medicine was not easy to learn. Every once in a while a pile of newspapers would be sent back. From them, he learned about the situation of Tubo and the situation of the later Turks. The soldiers of the Tang dynasty had time to rest. So many soldiers were definitely not just for show. Today, 5,000 Southwest barbarians had come. Look at their equipment and number of horses. Sigh. Li Yi's plan was big. Zhuorong understood and thought it through. He hoped that Xinlua could attack the 3 newly built places of the Tang dynasty. Then the Tang dynasty would attack Xinlua. It would be best if Japan and Xinlua joined forces to fight against the Tang dynasty. Of course, he was just thinking about it. Right now, he was welcoming them with a smile. Dr. Li, Zhuangzi's people are indeed capable and ruthless. Their faces are dignified, and they are rushing in the snow. Zhuorong came up and praised first. After praising, he was satisfied. Li Endong and the other 4. If you don't know how to, don't talk nonsense. How do you match words? County King, you flatter us. We are just doing our job seriously, Li Endong replied. Good. What a good job. Some people only know how to be serious and not do anything. It's wrong to be serious when doing things. The more you do things, the more serious you become. In the end, you don't do things well. Zhuorong praised again. The others nodded, indicating that the king was right. County King. Have you prepared the things that Bohai wants to exchange? Li Endong didn't want to talk nonsense. Of course we are prepared seriously. Everyone, enter the city to rest. Zhuorong sent out an invitation. County King, when we came, Dongzhu instructed us not to enter the city and occupy other people's places. We will camp outside the city. The place is big and convenient for the exchange. Li Endong refused to enter. If the other party did something bad, his team would suffer heavy losses. No matter what you think, in any case, I won't give you a chance. Zhuorong was slightly surprised, but he immediately understood. He didn't get angry and nodded. Do as you say. Li Endong and the others were very suspicious. Was Zhuorong doing this on purpose? They didn't know, but Zhuorong was really excited. When he spoke, he was looking at the things in the team. After a rough estimate, he knew that there were more than the previous ones added together. The other party could bring so many things, but it was impossible for them to bring them back. This meant that he had good things that the other party would take a fancy to. The Li family Zhuangzi's people wouldn't leave until they exchanged everything they brought. He would definitely make a profit. A portion of the team began to move toward the city, while the other portion was on the mountain, ready to charge down at any time. Zhuorong turned his head and saw the people wearing shoes made of grass. A large section of the grass was exposed outside, which was good at keeping people warm. This grass is hard. When it is young, horses will eat it. When it is grown, horses will only eat a few mouthfuls unless there is no other grass to eat. It will hurt their feet if they put it in their shoes. Zhuorong said this, but he knew that the grass was different. Chapter 1991. The 5 people of the Li family Zhuangzi acted as if they didn't hear it. If you want to ask about the situation, just ask directly. Our ears are not good to play such small tricks. In the Zhuangzi, His Majesty wasn't like this. His Majesty would find someone to ask, "How did you deal with this grass? It didn't hurt the foot." Then if the person asked knew, he would answer immediately. He wouldn't think that His Majesty was ignorant. His Majesty didn't need to know too much. He just needed to know how to kill. If one had to die if one didn't know enough, then was there anyone alive in front of the Dongzhu? Hit it with a stick. After hitting it, it will be soft, strong, and warm. Jin wasn't a member of the Li family Zhuangzi. Even if he wanted to go to the Tang dynasty, he was still afraid of Zhuorong and answered flatteringly. After answering, he didn't do anything else. Not qualified, He should immediately bring the new leather shoes with ula grass pads for Dezworong to see, not just stand there. Dezworong didn't have time to care so much. He called out, "Quick, bring me a shoe." Brilo ran over to get it himself. He was also afraid of Dezworong. A new pair of leather shoes with a low top. The ula grass could form a cover at the top of the shoe and cover part of the calf. Why not make boots? Dezworong was wearing boots. There was little leather. Big boots with fur couldn't be made from the skin of ordinary animals. A rabbit's skin couldn't be made into a boot. The production process was also difficult. The simplest was a low-top leather shoe. It wasn't the kind with a big top. The top of the shoe had leather stitching. If they didn't have money, they would wear shoes made of ula grass. They would even directly weave shoes with ula grass. They didn't know that ula grass could be used like this before. The tribe following the team felt that they had lost 100 million. When the things were brought, Dezworong touched them with his hand and smelled them. He smelled the grass. New shoes. His eyes lit up. This thing didn't need to be exchanged. Li was really powerful. When the people of the Zhuangzi came here, they took out a good heating technology first. His hand stroked the soft ula grass over and over again, and found that he had a few 100 million more. He smiled. "Okay, what's your name? In the future, you and your people are allowed to live near the city." He gave Braylet a favor. "Look, I'll let you live next to me." Briro was stunned. He looked at Li Endong, who nodded slightly. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Grand Prince, oui. He hesitated again, afraid. "And Dezworong heard it. You called me Junwang? Your Highness, we want to go back to the Tang dynasty with them. Dongzhu said he wants us." Brilo plucked up his courage and said, emphasizing the words Huizi and Dongzhu. His meaning was clear. "I'm now a member of the Tang dynasty. If Li knows about this, don't stop me." They were very powerful. Dezworong's eyes widened. Why did his people defect to the Tang dynasty? Li wanted it? Who are you trying to fool? Li knows you. Your Highness, it is indeed as Chief Bo said. My Dongzhu, Li Endong said. It's Bolai, not Bo, Briro corrected. In fact, it's Briro. First name. You don't have a surname. Don't blindly imitate the Tang dynasty, Li Endong corrected again. Oh, Briro admitted. The surname thing could wait until the Tang dynasty to figure it out. Li Endong turned his head and continued to talk to Dezworong. My Dongzhu can contact us at any time, even if we are thousands of miles away. How? Dezworong was the most curious about this. Telegraph. You can try it. It's 2 miles away. Your Highness, arrange people to go to the other side. When you speak, we send a telegram. The people over there send a message to verify. Li Endong told him the simplest verification method. After a few times, the other party believed him. Dezworong immediately agreed and arranged a few of his confidants to run directly to the city. At this distance, there was no need to be afraid that the people of the Tang dynasty would cheat each other. After waiting for half an hour, the arrangements were made. The people and the winged knights ran to the other side. Someone had to run back to report that they had reached the place. It was 10 miles away. It took half an hour to go and return. Because they didn't sweep the snow, it was not easy for the people who lived outside the city, such as Dleka's tribe, to enter the city. With this difference, the people of the Tang dynasty were 8 blocks ahead of them. After the heavy snow, the people would take the initiative to help clear the road between the 2 relay stations. The people of the Tang dynasty counted on being rescued in time. If the road was blocked, others would die. It was fine if the first snow was not swept, but the first snow of the second snow was even more difficult to clear. Moreover, they didn't get paid to sweep the snow, but they could eat. Usually, there was free soup and black bread. When the snow was swept, there was a small piece of bacon. Even if it was for the free soup, shouldn't it be convenient to sweep the snow? Bohai country didn't dare to provide free soup and black bread in winter. In fact, there was no such thing in summer. In the whole world of Li Yi's time, which country provided free soup and black bread every 10 miles? Li Yi deliberately used this to unite the people and rally the people's hearts. Even if there were telegraph machines in every county in the future, the relay stations couldn't be removed. The relay stations could still transport goods. Dezworong had never thought about getting free soup. At this moment he was full of expectation. Tell them to bring a rabbit over. Also there are 2 moons in the sky. Dazworong made a request for the object. Chapter 1995. The Prince of Bohai guards the border for the Tang dynasty. Therefore, I have a reward for the trade team. I hope the Prince of Bohai cares for the people, and doesn't let the people of the Tang dynasty live in hunger and cold. In the drunken immortal residence, Li Longji sat upright and spoke. The little robot's light flashed, and helped to send the report. It was very fast. Bai Gu lowered his head, and looked unhappy. When he heard Li Yi's reply just now, he smiled and said that Xiao Yi was doing something bad, and was unhappy to be disturbed. In the end, noble consort Lu said that it was not normal for Xiao Yi and Yuan Yuan to be intimate. It was better for them to sleep together. Unless Yuan Yuan was going to marry someone else, there was no need for other etiquette. Princesses were actually special. If her husband died, or the princess was unhappy, she would still be married to another man. After marrying, she could enter the palace if she wanted to. She did not need the consent of the man. It was different from ordinary girls going back to their parents' home. If the man wanted to follow, he needed to apply. He could only go if he was allowed to. When it came to Li Yi, there was no such thing as marrying. It was even more impossible to see whether the emperor agreed or not. Li Longji lived in his son-in-law's house. He ate and drank his son-in-law's food, and used his son-in-law. He also needed his son-in-law to give him ideas. Bai Gu was depressed. It was just a joke. What if Princess Yongmu was unhappy if you spread it out? It did not matter if he offended Xiao Yi. He was used to it. She would still wash her teeth when she needed to. If he offended Princess Yongmu, he would understand just by looking at the 3 shopkeepers. It was scary. After Li Longji finished speaking, Dazworong wrote back to express his loyalty. He was willing to ensure peace at the border for the Tang dynasty and educate the people. Could he let his son say something to Dadani? Dadani was a bodyguard, the kind that was close to him. In fact, he did not need him. He was very relaxed. Most of the time, Dadani was learning things from the Tang dynasty. He should have gone back at the beginning of the Kaiyuan. But Li Yi came out of nowhere, and he continued to stay. Today's situation was special. He who was reading was called over. She told him that the Li family Zhuangzi's group had arrived at the Bohai Sea, and had met the Prince of Bohai Sea. He was so excited that he telegraphed to his father in the middle of the city. But when he spoke, he felt that his words were incoherent. One was asking questions while the other was answering questions. Dazworong asked if the weather was hot. De Menyi answered that the sun had risen. Li Longji sat there and listened. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. So you guys have a secret language too. Very smart. Beside Fan Fan, Dazworong couldn't laugh. He was sure that this was his own son. Little robots, within a radius of 500 meters, don't let anyone come close if the sky hasn't collapsed. Li knew the source of the voice. It was separated by a pool with a screen wall. His voice was very loud. So what if it was Song Jing? Even Li Longji couldn't. After Li finished speaking, he lowered his head. And then Xiaolan. The barbecue skewers were sent over. It was not suitable to eat chili at night. On the other side, Song Jing quietly moved away. He was like Bai Gu. He was not afraid of Li Yi being angry, but he was worried that Princess Yongmu would be angry. Li Lang, another tribe is joining? Princess Yongmu finished scaring Song Jing, and talked about business. Song Jing's shout was very timely. He expressed his happiness, and told Li Yi the good news. It was a kind gesture. This shows 3 problems. First, the military force of the regime is binding. Second, the propaganda power. Third, the economic development power. A country with an army, a channel for propaganda, and a way for the people to make money is stable. The higher-ups can't be lazy, or the grassroots will be corrupted, especially the law enforcement officers and departments. Li Yi understood Song Jing's feelings. The more people there were, the happier the ministers were. And the stricter the higher-ups were, the more honest the people below were. For example, when his country started to deal with the law enforcement officers, some people thought that they were awesome because they were the Jingcha. They found a reason to summon them. But it was actually revenge. Then they sued, and the local police department even appealed. In the end, the higher-ups said that they would withdraw and not appeal. They would deal with the previous law enforcement officers. Why? Because the department that said that they would not appeal was afraid of being investigated. They were not clean. They hated it. If they didn't deal with the trouble below, once the central government came, they would be dealt with. I embezzled and took so many bribes. Now that the country is investigating, I'm hiding. The police under you are using their power to avenge private wrongs. They have been sentenced by the court and still want to appeal. What if the media catches up with me? So I'll make the first move. Don't make a fuss. I'm scared. I'll deal with you first. I hope this will end. The media will stop talking. Li understood. This was propaganda and control. The people had a scale in their hearts. No one was a fool. At first, when they saw a large group of cavalry gradually appear in the snow, they were scared and afraid that they could not hold on. The beacon light was a psychological comfort, but in fact, they knew that other places could not see it. The winged knights that came over said to send a telegram. Drip, drip, drip. The main forces of various places began to gather and charge over. They had already prepared the water. If the ice was frozen, they would melt it instead of boiling it. If Sulu brought people to attack the city, they would pour water and mix it with snow. It would be difficult to walk. When the snow stopped, it would freeze. Come attack the city. We are not prepared to go out. So we will stay in the city and think of a way to remove the ice when the main forces arrive. Then, the winged knights said that Zhang Xiaosong was not far away and could provide support at any time. When the main forces arrived, Sulu might run. Sure enough, Sulu's army ran away and was ambushed by the war god on the way. Li Dongzhu, you can't fight. Quickly bring the soldiers home. Sulu probably won't dare to come again. When he saw you, he was not convinced and his people were afraid. Li Dongzhu also said that he would send 2 steam engines for us to see if they are useful. They are mainly used to dig wells. They are quite expensive and don't need to plow. We have many horses, so we can plow once we harness them. Jia Guixing, the person in charge of the winged knights, translated the contents of the telegram to Zhang Xiaosong and told him to stop fighting. Go home and rest. See where you need water. If there is no river nearby, you can dig wells. Getting soil was also good. Digging wells with a steam engine, you can save a lot of effort. I want to learn telegraphy. Give me a few telegraph machines. I have a lot of use for them. Zhang Xiaosong did not object to Li Yi's arrangement. If he did not want to fight, then so be it. If he sent troops now, it would cause Sulu to suffer more losses. But his own people would also be in danger. If there was a sudden heavy snow, and his troops ran to other people's territory, and got trapped, maybe. I will contact Li Dongzhu. Jia Guixing nodded. It was not easy for him to make a decision. He had to ask, even if Zhang Xiaosong's position was very high. Some of the other people who were packing up came over and stood there to listen. They listened to the sound of the telegram. This thing represented stability. With it, news would spread quickly. Chapter 2003. The children asked the adults to drag the dead horse to the telegraph machine. There was a temporary shed here. They listened to the movement while dissecting the horse meat with a knife. They cut it into pieces the size of ping-pong balls, but they were not round. When they went back, they would wrap it in horse meat and skewer it when they got home. They were actually in class when Sulu came. With so many people, they were not in the mood to study and had to prepare for battle. If the city fell, they would be captured as slaves and live a life worse than death. They did not understand the principle, but they knew that it was made by Li Dongzhu. Their lives were good now. Raisins could be sold for money, and it was easy to make. After ripening, they would be hung in a place where the sun could not reach and dried in the shade. There was also wine. With gauze filtration, it could be fermented once and twice. It could be stored in jars and sold for a lot of money. Now that there was a good thing to quickly transmit information, they would not be afraid of Sulu in the future. After Jia Guixing finished translating, a child came over with a piece of meat with bloody hands. Uncle, do you eat meat? It's still warm. It's not cold at all. Jia Guixing. He hesitated for a second, just a second, and opened his mouth. Thank you. Ah. The child happily stuffed the meat into his mouth. He chewed hard. It was not delicious. Not delicious did not mean that it could not be eaten. It was normal for winged knights to eat this. He was also part of the first batch. It was a blessing to have meat to eat and be familiar with things. Do you want salt? It's a bit fishy and hard to swallow, but it's hot. The child rubbed his hands on the snow, shook his hands, and took out a small bamboo tube from his small pocket. There was salt inside the tube. No, this is fine. I'll wait for everyone to eat together. Jia Guixing wanted to eat cooked food. He could eat raw food, but it did not mean that he liked it. It was like not being afraid of death in a war, but it did not mean that he wanted to die. The child nodded. I know you don't want to eat raw food. Actually, I like to eat cooked food too. I came to you to ask for your help. Tell Brother Dongzhu. Tell him that my name is Perunyahan. I thank him. I will thank him with the other partners. Okay. Jia Guixing was slightly stunned. He then began to read the words. As long as we have enough mobile troops, it doesn't matter whether we attack or defend. When we fight, it's about the mobilization of troops. If Su Lu still came to fight, it meant that there was a serious internal problem. I feel that he should go and attack the white-clothed Abbasid Caliphate. That place is easier to fight, and there's no need to ally with them. There's nothing embarrassing about attacking them now. The Tang dynasty has given him so many benefits, but he doesn't know how to be grateful. He thinks that his position is worth others to rope him in. A large map was projected on the wall. Li Yi used a small stick to mark out the location. There was also a weather report beside it. It was not easy to fight in the local area. Su Lu had fought once, and it was snowing heavily. It was impossible for him to come again, even if he did not lose any troops. Dongzhu, there is a child named Perunyahan. He said that he and his companions thank you. The little robot in charge of the projection spoke. Arrange for people to send the skincare cream there. Zhuangzi doesn't need to pay for it. Zhuangzi and Chang, and will pay for it. Find a businessman to send it. Li paused for a moment. Then, he continued to point at the map. After we plant a large amount of cotton, the Tang dynasty will be able to digest the demand. We don't have enough people to pick the cotton, so we can find a way to hire people from the western regions. Regardless of age, gender, or age, as long as they participate, they will be able to earn money or exchange things. Set up shacks in the local area for them to live in. Encourage businessmen to buy slaves. Then, at the cotton production area, I'm preparing to establish a handicraft industry. Old Bai, why are you sticking so close to me? You're blocking me. The imperial court will cooperate with me to establish a handicraft industry labor-intensive industrial zone. Businessmen buying slaves doesn't mean that they will participate in the industry, because it's too far away and difficult to manage. Once the businessmen have established a handicraft industry in the local area, there will be people who will betray the Tang dynasty for money, will only buy the slaves provided by the businessmen, and then tell the slaves how many points they need to earn before they can become free people. Li explained his follow-up arrangements. Just like the original Southwest barbarians, the Southwest barbarians had once strived for freedom. But now the Southwest barbarians no longer wanted their freedom. They felt that points were rather useless. Instead of gaining freedom and living on their own outside, they might as well be captives of the Li family Zhuangzi. If the children studied well, they could be stewards in the future. As long as they didn't come into contact with too many Zhuangzi's technological secrets, they could even become officials of the Tang dynasty. Li Yi's purpose was to attract people to pick cotton, and then settle down in the local area. Slaves had a transition period, but free people didn't. When the local area became prosperous, they could build bigger cities and expand their military forces. After speaking, Li left to rest. He needed to relax. He had finally finished his work. He wanted to find a swimming pool to drink beer and eat meat skewers. He didn't want the big ones. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to drink when he was full. Tell Zhang Xiaosong to why did you leave? He let go of the carrots, because carrots were beneficial to the human body. Regardless of age, as long as there were no special diseases, People could eat carrots and get the nutrients they needed from the seeds. This was especially true for children who had just started teething. Babies needed to grind their teeth, try to bite things, and grab things with their small hands. For example, it was very painful to scratch an adult's face. Then they would bite their own fingers. They needed to scratch and bite again to get used to their strength and senses. At this time, it was most suitable to cut a carrot stick and let the baby bite it. There wouldn't be any problems if they bit it. If they really bit it, they could just eat it. It wasn't poisonous. Therefore, after Li Yi made money once, he let out the carrots and gave them to people who were willing to plant them. This included Hunan province, where the seeds could be kept. They were different from green onions. Green onions were also kept for 2 years in the north and weren't afraid of the cold. Carrots couldn't survive the snowy winter. Green onions and wheat stubbornly survived, but carrots were frozen to death. As for chili powder, the medicinal ingredients were set aside. The other ingredients were still expensive. Medicine shops and medical centers didn't dare to sell chili powder casually. They bought it from the Li family Zhuangzi at a cheaper price. It was like arsenic. Medicine shops sold it casually. They would know if it worked after trying it. Li Lang, it's just that some people are used to some situations and can't adapt to the sudden change, right? Princess Yongmu finished roasting a bunch of meat skewers. She placed them on a plate and was about to bring them to the guard. Give it to me, give it to me. Put it on my head. I'll open up the round top and make it flat. The small robot had been motionless and silent, like a decoration. But when Princess Yongmu moved, it reacted. Princess Yongmu placed the meat skewers on the robot and took a bite off a bit of the meat skewers. Li Lang, when I was in the prince's residence, I always heard that someone's benefits were cancelled, including mine. When there was benefits, it was better. When the benefits were cancelled, I was afraid. I wasn't the only one who was afraid. The other servants were also afraid. Xiaolan was afraid, but she always told me that she wasn't. Princess Yongmu looked at Xiaolan as she spoke. Xiaolan was chatting with someone. She had to manage many people. When it was time to play tricks, she would play tricks. Li Yi looked at Princess Yongmu. He raised his wine cup and took a big gulp. Sigh. Sulu didn't get any benefits from the Tang dynasty. The winter was hard, and Tubo wouldn't give him any benefits. What can the Abbasid Caliphate give? Li Yi sighed. Princess Yongmu was amazing. She actually thought of this. Sulu was made an official by the Abbasid Caliphate, Tubo and Tang dynasty. Not only did he have his own salary, but he also had to pay the soldiers. He immediately understood that Sulu didn't just get benefits after losing a war. In history, when Sulu lost, he continued to enjoy the benefits from the 3 factions. Now that the Tang dynasty didn't give him any benefits, why should I give you benefits? Tubo didn't give him any benefits. I'm already like this. Why should I give you benefits? If you have the ability, you can hit me. I lost the source of the Yellow River. If you hit me, it's the same as attacking the Tang dynasty. If Sulu lost something, how could he survive the winter? More importantly, he was beaten by Zhang Xiaosong again and suffered heavy losses. Not many people died. But what about the provisions that were burned? There were so many people to feed. If they weren't careful, the Huang and Black clans might have differences and start fighting. Just like in history, Sulu was killed by the Huang clans in the end. Then, when there might be internal problems, Sulu wanted to use a small victory to stabilize the morale of the army. There was nothing wrong with that. Especially, send a report to Zhang Xiaosong. Ask him which surname of the several hundred people who were killed and the 2,000 people who were captured belonged to. Li Yi thought and found a problem. He remembered that when Yang Guang fought Goguryeo, he had sent many people. Those people were actually from the various large clans. Those large clans wanted to trap Yang Guang, and Yang Guang sent their people to their deaths. Then, those large clans took care of Yang Guang, including Li Yuan. However, he wasn't the largest clan back then. Where did the largest clan go? Fighting Goguryeo. Then now, when Sulu attacked the Tang dynasty, were the people killed and captured his black clansmen, or the Huang clansmen of other clansmen? The knack for this was deep. The little robot quickly sent the telegram and said to Li Yi, "Why are you in such a hurry to fight against your own family?" Yes. Wanan. Li sighed. He knew that the little robot was not talking about the 7-step poem, but the one written by old Joe. Chapter 2005. I'll grill some fat clams for you. I've been keeping them on the yacht. Li poked Princess Yomu's nose. This girl is not easy to deal with. She sees things very clearly, but she doesn't talk much, especially when it comes to politics and military matters. I want to cook it. Add some salt. Princess Yomu shook her head twice. So Li found a pot and started cooking. This thing cooked very quickly. Before the clams were cooked, Zhang Xiaosong sent a telegram back. Only a few dead and captured people had the surname Black. Most of the others had the surname Huang, and some other surnames. Brilliant, really brilliant. Li expressed his admiration. Su Lu's methods were good. If he won, his prestige would increase. If he lost, the people who died would not be his people. It's also possible that he wants to attack the Abbasid Caliphate, and some people inside want to take the opportunity to join the Tang dynasty. If he attacks the Tang dynasty first, those who want to join him will be in trouble. If he turns around and attacks the Abbasid Caliphate, the people behind him won't dare to secretly join the Tang dynasty. After all, they have just fought a war. Xiaolan came back after sending the items, understood the situation, and gave her opinion. The clams are ready. Eat. Li took out the clams and picked out a fat and tender piece of meat for Princess Yomu, and then for Xiaolan. If he wants to attack the Abbasid Caliphate, should we attack him from behind? Li asked after feeding them. No, let him fight. Let him act big. If he finds out that the Abbasid Caliphate is the easiest to attack, he will attack them. If we attack him, he will lose a lot and might go crazy. Then, he will attack us regardless of the cost. Our soldiers need to rest for a while so that they can have a proper balance. Princess Yomu gave her own considerations. They can't fight. Li nodded. Yes, my Wentian and Xiaolan are getting more and more powerful. Not long after, Zhang Xiaosong sent back news that confirmed Princess Yomu and Xiaolan's guess. The people who were captured said that some people in the Tuki Shire were afraid and wanted to seek refuge with the Tang dynasty. Some people wanted to stay further away from the Tang dynasty and fight in the cavalry. Su Lu had actually come over to take a look at the situation. If he could fight, he would fight. In the end, for some reason, how did the smoke spread? When the main force came over, they were ambushed by Zhang Xiaosong again when they retreated. Now that everyone was clear, they could be at ease. There would definitely not be another war this year. Unless Su Lu was tired of living. The locals thought the same. They returned to the city. The horses and sheep were all in the city. There were many haystacks. Silage made in the summer, hay harvested in the autumn, and so on. Because they had good tools, the sickles were issued by the court, and the silage ponds were covered with cement. There were also many wells. If they were placed in the house, they would be warm and wouldn't freeze. In addition to the stored food and dried meat, when the weather was good, they would go out to graze. When the weather was bad, they would stay in the city. The excrement of the livestock was specially processed and used for farming next year. You know what? We are all men. But when I see you, I still feel that I need to be protected. You are too strong. Child Piranugan sat in front of Jia Guiying on a sled. The weight of riding a horse was different from a horse-drawn sled. Their people knew how to be strong from a young age. When they see adults working, they must follow. Otherwise, they would be beaten. Most importantly, other children were the same. There was no difference. Living in this kind of environment, they would naturally adapt. Many times, they thought they were real men and could also kill enemies. For example, if the enemy attacked the city, would throwing a fist-sized rock be useful? Would the arrows they used to shoot rabbits kill people? But when they met Zhang Xiaosong's soldiers and saw the winged knights, the children developed a sense of dependence. Dongzhu replied with a telegram saying that he will give you benefits. Next year, there will be more powerful things to help you farm. This winter, you will have a good time, because His Majesty is in Hunan province. There are enough resources around. The things sent by the governor are relatively few, and the extra things will be distributed to other places. Jia Guiying knew the importance of Piranugan's thanks. It proved that the local people were educating their children. With this kind of education, the local people who also had a Turkic surname would not betray them in the future. For them, Dongzhu would definitely give them more benefits. This winter, there would be no shortage of soap, hand cream, and so on. In addition, there would be a lot of snacks for the children. There were no poultry here, and there were no eggs, unless they were wild eggs. Then, there should be a large number of spoiled and salted eggs. As for fresh eggs, they had a short shelf life, and were easy to break on the road. Let's see how to transport them. The group entered the city. The area of the city was very large. Everyone had to leave behind horse pens and sheep pens. In the past, their sheep pens were made of wood, and had straw mats on top. When there was heavy snow, it was likely to collapse. In winter, it was normal for people and sheep to freeze to death. This summer, they would build the city together. The people sent later helped. The main frames of the sheep pens and stables were made of concrete. Wood and straw mats were placed on top. Even if there was heavy snow, they would not collapse. A fire tunnel was built inside. If it was too cold, it would burn for 2 hours. The sheep could use this temperature to successfully keep warm. The dead enemies were buried by the captives. They did not take anything away, including shoes, hats, and so on. The injured captives received simple treatment. The other captives were not tied up. They just did not have their weapons. They were very obedient. They did not dare to take other people's weapons. That was purely seeking death. Being a captive did not mean that they would be killed. The people in the city were happy to make bonfires and eat skewers and barbecued meat. The horse bones with meat were stewed in a big pot. According to what was written in the newspaper, some mushrooms, vegetables, fungus were dried in the sun and in the shade. Now the dried vegetables were taken out and placed in the stew. They even had a big pottery vat to make pickled vegetables. The vat was brushed clean. The cabbage was not washed. The roots were cut off. The outer stem was broken off and placed in the vat. Salt was added. Finally, a big stone was placed on top with boiling water. A lot of salt was used. After pickling, there was no salty taste. In the past, the locals did not want to live a better life. They really did not have anything. How many families could take out a big vat? There was also a big iron pot. A good life was built by piling up material things, like a child coming back, wearing clothes, washing his hands with warm water, rubbing soap, and finally applying some hand cream. The whole set of actions, when the child did it, had a sense of sacredness. His hands really did not split. When the food was almost ready and ready to eat, the horse milk wine was also taken out. Today was a festival. Hundreds of people were killed. More than 2,000 people were captured. There were also many horses. The key point was that the city was easy to use. The enemy did not bring siege equipment and could not climb up at all. As for shooting arrows up from below the city, you guys would be exhausted. I built a straw shed on the city wall. You guys can shoot. What? Fire rockets? I poured water on the straw shed. There was another telegraph. Oh my God. After ticking, the news spread far and wide. With this thing, there was no need to be afraid that the enemy would not be able to send out the news. Chapter 2006. There's more fennel and salt now, so the meat doesn't taste so fishy. We also know how to marinate the meat before roasting it. The child Perunyahan found Jiaguishin and sat down next to him to talk. Now that everyone knows that your city is at the forefront, your city will be in danger the next time there's a battle. The enemy will bring siege weapons. Jiaguishin suddenly said something else and looked at Perunyahan. Perunyahan curled his lips. If you can think of it, how can Brother Dongzhu not think of it? We don't have enough people and can't stop them. Brother Dongzhu will send people to help. You're smart. Jiaguishin took a sip of the horse milk wine. Horse milk wine was brewed normally. Even now, the Li family Zhuangzi hadn't released the distillation technology. Because it involved toilet water and perfume. The perfume of one Tianlan Pavilion was better than all the perfume on the market. The sperm whale contributed some fixative, so a little bit was enough. Distillation was just distilling wine in daily life. Couldn't you live without distillation? These things always maintained the income of the Li family Zhuangzi. Petroleum was obtained through distillation to obtain kerosene, gasoline, and diesel. However, the current horse milk wine, had a high alcohol content because it was made with good tools. The alcohol content of beer was more than 3%. Some people would get drunk after drinking 2 bottles. The malt content wasn't the alcohol content. The 11% malt content referred to the sugar content. The current horse milk wine was 15% or 16%. It was much more powerful than Li Yi's de Wuxia beer. Perignon also took a sip of the horse milk wine and said with a comfortable expression, "Anda said that Brother Dongzhu will send people to build a bigger city here, and then send people to plant and breed crops. We still have to continue to trade with other places through the roads on the ground. Our tea leaves and silk are all quite valuable. If we survive this winter, we'll be fine next year. Brother Dongzhu is more anxious than anyone else. Brother Dongzhu has us in his heart. He won't let us be exposed to danger. Even if God wants to kill us, Brother Dongzhu will tie us up and hold up the concrete roof." After Perignon finished speaking, he looked around and took out a small clay jar tied with a straw rope. He carefully opened it and removed the lid. Inside was chili powder, the kind that was very fragmented. "Here, you can dip it in." In autumn, there were merchants coming over. Everyone else was in the same place, but there was one merchant who ran very far away. He said that he wanted to look for a mine or something. If he found it, he would be rich. He had gone too far. He hadn't found the mine, but the wolf had found him. The 4 of them were too bold. Furthermore, they were foreign horses. When faced with 11 wolves, foreign horses did not dare to move. "Then we met a flock of sheep here." "Why should we?" Li Yi retorted. "They make mistakes occasionally, so we should forgive them." Song Jing found a reason. "Are you forgiving them for those who died fighting Su Lu? If they surrender, I will forgive them. I believe that those who died are also willing to see a large piece of land belong to the Tang dynasty. They have come to fight on their own initiative many times. They take advantage of the benefits, and I will spoil them. Old Song, how about this? Tomorrow, we will go to the cemetery of martyrs. You will keep watch at night and ask them if it is okay." Li Yi thought of a way. "Come on, Old Song. Go to the cemetery of martyrs and convince yourself in the middle of the night. Anyway, I can't do it. I am an atheist and I am afraid. What I want to say is repay evil with good. How should I repay good?" Song Jing compromised. He was even more afraid. "Brother Yi, do you want to bring the captives back to the place that Zhuangzi arranged for you?" Li Longji never intended to give Su Lu anything else. He was just a plaything that could not be tamed. "No, exchange with Su Lu. They send over slaves. 2 slaves in exchange for one of their people. 100 at a time, randomly selected. Food and weapons can be exchanged. The white-clothed Abbasid Caliphate slaves will be sent to Luoyang. I want to repair the bridges and roads." Li Yi suggested a way. They did not need the captives of the Abbasid Caliphate as slaves. Everyone frowned. Bai Gu reacted quickly. "This plan is too vicious, but I like it." "I agree. This is a good idea." Zhang Jiuling added. "Force Su Lu to attack the white-clothed Abbasid Caliphate crazily and capture them alive. Otherwise, there will be internal strife. If he does not capture the white-clothed Abbasid Caliphate as slaves, he is not willing to save his own people." Sui had thought it through, and this was only the first step. Chapter 2007. Li Longji kept nodding happily as he listened to everyone's discussion. "That's more like it. Don't keep asking my son-in-law for money. Su Lu is in trouble. He probably didn't expect the consequences of coming here to fight the Tang dynasty. He has his own schemes, but my Tang dynasty is also full of schemes and schemes. I can't possibly let you come here for nothing." Li Longji was in a good mood. He sat down and took a big gulp of beer, feeling refreshed all over. He knew what would happen next. The captured cavalrymen surnamed Huang were not stupid. As long as he told them that they had been sold by Su Lu, they would not be grateful to Su Lu even if they were traded back. Moreover, when Su Lu went to fight the Abbasid Caliphate, he allowed 2 slaves to trade for 1 captive. And he also allowed the slaves to trade for other things. The Huangs wanted to trade for their own people, but the Heis thought the things were important, so they traded for the captured Huangs instead. What other strategy could be more effective than causing internal strife among the enemy? It's the root of the problem. Sui said what Li Longji was thinking and looked at Li Yi. Li Yi and Sui looked at each other. What? Dr. Li, do you know where the root of the problem came from? Sui asked. Li Yi curled his lips. I don't know. It's not like I'm taking the imperial examinations next year. Oh right. The imperial examinations next year will be the Analects of Confucius. Sui was also looking for a drink. Whatever Kong Zhongmi said, his descendants have actually done it before. Li Yi curled his lips again. He knew the history. After the Kong consortium split up, it was because of internal strife in order to survive. But later on, there was a need to pacify the people. So some excerpts of the Analects of Confucius were included in the textbooks again. The textbooks couldn't always say that the people do not fear death, so why fear death? Or when an ordinary man gets angry, blood splatters 5 steps away, right? In that case, Sulu's problem has been resolved? Song Jing was slightly relieved when he thought about the stability of the border. Dongzhu telegram. Jia Gui reports that Perinyahan has brought out chili powder. The little robot next to him suddenly made a sound. It had received the telegram again. The receiver of the telegram had just finished writing all the numbers. Before he could check the words, it had already finished translating. Li glanced at Song Jing and said to Li Longji, "Third brother, send someone to find out. We must control the smuggling channel." Okay, Li Longji replied. Gao Lisher picked up the walkie-talkie and took a few steps back to make arrangements. When it came to the types and quantities of smuggled goods, chili powder and toilet water were not a problem. Metals, herbs, and food, it all depended on the situation. Xiao Yi stopped the smuggling. Smuggling showed that there was profit to be made on both sides. Why would the Tang dynasty need money now? As soon as Bai Gu heard about smuggling, he was annoyed. The other party got the goods and could ease the tension. The profits from smuggling were dispensable to the Tang dynasty. Information, Yao Chong said. If the smugglers didn't go, the spies would definitely be found out. The Tang dynasty didn't know anything about the commandos. When the businessmen went there, they would look and listen during the process of contact and report local matters. Don't give them basic necessities. If they are willing to eat chili powder, sell more. Zhang Jiling suggested. If they didn't give them iron, they would give them kerosene lamps. Could iron bicycles be ridden there? If they wanted to drink hot water at any time in winter, a thermos was a good choice. I will provide a few sets of equipment. Our people will take them. There is no need to specifically inquire and record. Just stroll along the way. When we come back, I will take out the memory and use the computer to analyze the key images and what others said. In addition, send people to look carefully. The risk to our people is small. No one likes businessmen to ask questions that they shouldn't ask. Li Yi said that he had a pinhole camera. It was simple to generate electricity. It could generate electricity when walking, and it could also be charged by shaking it before going to bed at night. Where there were people, there was a market. Even in the concentration camps, the currency used to be cigarettes. There were many people in the commandos. They traded among themselves. The spies disguised as businessmen strolled around and recorded the situation. Or they didn't pretend to be businessmen, like Yu Huaid. They used to do a lot of trade. At the same time, they also inquired about information and bought back the captured Tang dynasty people. It was because of what they had done in the past that they were able to get enough opportunities for cooperation. Every captured Tang dynasty person was a disgrace to the Tang dynasty. No matter what method was used, they were saved. Then compensation was given. As for revenge, it had already been done. Now no captured Tang dynasty person could be found in Tubo. Most of the troops had already arrived at the city. After that, the winged knights went to live in Princess Jincheng's palace. Under such circumstances, if there were still Tang dynasty slaves, it would be a joke. Who should we send? Yu Huaid and the others? Li Longji asked. He wanted to attack Yu Huaid before. Yu Huaid was too much. He didn't put Brother Yi in his eyes. However, before he could do anything, Yu Huaid could hardly move in Chang'an. He couldn't even enter Pyongkong Square. That was then. Now Pyongkong Square? If he hid and didn't get beaten to death by the people, he would starve to death. Later he changed. He helped Brother Yi cheat people and went outside to smuggle for the country. Li Longji didn't remember other businessmen, and he didn't want to see them. Yu Huai should be here. Ask him if he's willing. Let him introduce people. He's now. Li Yi didn't plan to ask Yu Huai and the others to do it personally. On the third floor of Drunken Immortal Restaurant, the little robot provided information at the critical moment. They ran in all directions. When others saw them, they would push them. Yu Huai pushed 2 of them today. Invite him over. Li Yi knew that there was no time to lose and quickly did it. Not long after, Yu Huai ran over with sweat all over his forehead. He was originally chubby, but now he looked a little thin because of the exercise. Greetings, County Magistrate, ministers and inspectors. Yu Huai greeted them and bowed to Princess Yongmu and Xiaolan. The 2 of them bowed back. Sit, Li Longji ordered. Thank you, County Magistrate. Yu Huai sat next to Li Yi, just half of his butt. It was convenient for him to get up at any time. Old Yu, there's such a thing. Li Yi explained the situation and finally asked, does anyone have a choice? Li Dongzhu, we have children in our families. Although they are allowed to take the imperial examination, they don't want to do it. However, there are people whose ambitions do not lie in this. They prefer to do business. Yu Huai was worried about the people in his family. If he introduced the wrong person and delayed the Tang dynasty's national affairs, wouldn't he be a sinner? Did they follow? Li Yi asked. In Chang'an, Yu Huai replied. Call them and tell them to prepare first. I'll send some things over by train. Li Yi didn't ask if Yu Huai was safe or not. If Yu Huai was worried, he didn't dare to introduce him. Yu Huai happily went to make the call. His family had a chance. In the future, the businessmen would provide material help to the officials. The officials would ensure that the businessmen wouldn't be bullied under normal circumstances, unless someone did something illegal. If another generation of the family passed the imperial examination, their family tree would be different from the others. When they paid respects to their ancestors, they had to write something important in the family tree. After 100 years, the tombstone of their ancestors' graves had to be erected. Chapter 2008. In the middle of the night, the stars in Luoyang's sky were especially bright. Many commoners wore an extra layer of clothes and came out to stroll and eat snacks. The people who set up the stalls kept smiling. No one collected protection fees, only management fees. Before Li Longji arrived in Luoyang, the merchants in Luoyang had to pay protection fees in addition to taxes and management fees. In the past 2 days, as long as the weather was good at night, the stalls and shops would receive a 10% discount when serving customers. The 10% discount was not given at the end of the meal. Instead, it was given based on the cost of the meal. The protection fees they paid were returned. The people who collected the protection fees had accounts. After receiving the protection fees, they would lend money, buy land, or rent it from tenants. They did not collect much rent from tenants, afraid that no one would rent it. They were working in the underworld and doing business in the legal world at the same time. When they were arrested, their properties were confiscated. As for the small fries who followed them, they were sentenced and punished. Some of them were released after being whipped twice. The protection fees collected were returned to the people who paid them without interest. Even so, everyone was happy. They regained what they had lost. It was a huge sum of money, more than a tax refund. In their happiness, they decided to give a 10% discount during the new year, until the first lunar month. Of course, the price would still increase during the new year. They would give another 10% discount compared to last year. Newcomers from other places could enjoy a 15% discount with their new certificate of origin. They did not have much money. As they had just arrived, the discount was considered snatching customers. Once a newcomer ate well and got used to it, there was a high chance that they would return in the future. It was difficult to buy a repeat customer with money. Children ran around and were not afraid of being abducted. The people who could abduct them were now abducted. Petty thieves were also not seen. The yamen spread the word that whoever dared to cause trouble for them would be punished. They had just dealt with a group of officials. If they did not manage them well, would they be dissatisfied with Her Majesty? Provocation. Therefore, all the commoners in Hunan were happy. They did not snatch things from the monasteries. The people who believed in Buddhism and Taoism were waiting. They did not add incense to the monasteries. It was not that they did not believe in Buddhism, but that they did not believe in monks and Taoists. In the city where Perunyahan was, everyone was eating when the snow suddenly became heavier. The bonfire party ended abruptly for some reason. Everyone checked the situation and began to clear the snow on the streets. The snow was transported to the southeast outside of the city. In winter, there were many west and northwest winds. If the snow was piled up in the northwest, it would be blown by the wind and moved to the foot of the wall. With the city around, there was no hope of using the snow to block the wind. The captives who were not injured, or whose injuries were relatively light and did not affect their work, were placed in the most tiring positions. While the others pushed the snow together, they loaded it, and the horse-drawn sledges were brought outside the town, where they overturned and unloaded the snow from the side. Zhang Xiaosong's men helped out. It snowed until dawn, so they took turns to come and rest when the snow was thicker. The winged knights did not move. They were only responsible for sending out reports, unless there were special circumstances. There were a total of 120 of them. 20 of them were originally in the city, and 100 of them were with Zhang Xiaosong's group. Drink tea, green tea. Piranugan boiled water on the stove in his room for the tea, and put the tea leaves into the pot. Thank you. Jia Guixing thanked him. The child was very enthusiastic. Piranugan poured himself a cup and looked at the tea. Everyone agreed that since we have a city, we must protect it. Yes, Jia Guixing echoed. This city is our home. We must keep the streets clean, clean the horse and sheep feces in time, and wash the urine with water. In fact, we know that the heavy snow will not crush the houses, horses, cows, and sheep pens. It will be easier to clean after the snow stops. But we are afraid that the snow on the road will freeze and be hard to remove, and our home will look dirty. We will not betray the Tang dynasty. Only the imperial court of the Tang dynasty and brother Dongzhu will repair the city for us. They said that you have good weapons. Once we become enemies, you will immediately take action and eliminate the leader. I tell you, we do not have a leader who is unfavorable to the Tang dynasty. We only have people who are unfavorable to the Tang dynasty. Then, no matter who they are, we will eliminate them ourselves. Piranugan spoke to Jia Guixing like an adult. There was no leader who was unfavorable to the Tang dynasty. If the leader wanted to do something bad, he would be eliminated and replaced. Your leader is not angry? Jia Guixing was stunned and asked. This is what our leader, the patriarch, said. The patriarch is the leader. The patriarch is wise. He said that as long as we are loyal to the Tang dynasty, we will get many times more benefits than if we betray the Tang dynasty, and we will not be exterminated. The patriarch warned us that if we betray the Tang dynasty, we will be exterminated. No matter how far we run, the winged knights will chase us to the end. Piranugan held the cup with both hands and turned it. It was a little hot. If it is too far, we may not go. Dongzhu will do it himself. Jia Guixing could see that he was deliberately asked to come here. The patriarch had arranged this through the child's pledge of loyalty. It was not the child's behavior before. When the snow was heavy, Piranugan was called away for a period of time. When he came back, he led Jia Guixing into the house. Jia Guixing did not see through it. He believed that the patriarch could guess that he would judge the situation. Will brother Dongzhu really fly to a faraway place to kill people? Piranugan asked. This was what he wanted to know. Yes. In the future, if there is a chance, I will take you to see Dongzhu. Dongzhu is gentle to his own people. Before the end of this year, a large number of soldiers and things will arrive. You can live in peace. As for you, because you can talk to Dongzhu, your status in the tribe will rise. You can't bully others like this. Jia Guixing first told him the truth. At the same time, he was afraid that the child would be too arrogant. I won't, because I don't usually use my status as the grandson of the patriarch to bully others, Piranugan promised. Jia Guixing was speechless. He lowered his head and drank his tea. He did not want to say anything. I have brothers, but I am being groomed as the future patriarch. I want to learn from brother Dongzhu. Piranugan was no longer modest. He told the other party that his status was different from the other brothers. Even so, he had to work hard to learn. I think that's fine. Jia Guixing admitted. This child was truly smart and could endure hardship. In this tribe, you could not be the patriarch just because you wanted to. If you did not agree with the majority, you might be killed. The child was already so old, but he already knew how to improve himself. Was there anyone more knowledgeable than Li Dongzhu in the world? Once he learned from Li Dongzhu, he would not only gain knowledge, but also status. The people working outside, including the patriarch, did not know the conversation between the two in the room. The patriarch only asked his grandson to speak, but his grandson knew how to find a backer. When the time came, even if other people were stronger in some aspects, would he dare to kill Piranugan and become the patriarch? Would he ask Li Yi if he agreed? Li Yi had a purpose in grooming children. If the children of the tribe were well groomed, it would be beneficial to the unity of the people of the Tang dynasty. Chapter 2009. There were pendants under the lanterns that were filled with wax. When the wind was strong, they would only sway slightly. The people removing the snow used the light to chat. Even the adults liked the feeling of huddling together for warmth. After today's victory, and with so many elite soldiers, they did not feel tired working together. Wild geese in the sky in a row, the autumn grass is yellow. Some people hummed a song as they went to the stables to feed the horses. There were also people in charge of the sheep pens. The city walls and the houses in the city blocked a lot of the wind. The lanterns in the stables were fixed with ropes. Eat more grass, you'll get fat. The people feeding the horses put grass in the manger and mumbled, hoping that the horses would be happy. Whether it was the new horses or the original horses, they all wanted to eat. Even the injured horses endured the pain and ate until they were full. Injured horses would usually be given beans. Fried bean powder increased protein and was good for wound recovery. Horses that were too heavily injured were already given a satisfying meal. The sheep in the sheep pens were more sensitive to the weather than humans. They knew the current situation and were very obedient. Give them some grass and they ate silently, not shouting loudly. However, the injured captives who were temporarily alive groaned and wailed in pain. After a batch of snow was cleared, everyone waited for a while to continue to clean up. The Yulin Royal Cavalry took things to the place where the captives and wounded were. The captives had their wounds stitched up. The stitched area was actually more painful than the wound. If it was not stitched up, it would not be a problem of pain. It might be better now, but after a day, the wound would start to leak fluids. Whether the temperature was high or low, there was a possibility of infection. Cold temperatures could cause frostbite. As soon as the winged knights appeared, the captives who were groaning and wailing immediately stopped and looked at the winged knights with frightened eyes. The winged knights spread out, checked the wounds, and felt the temperature of the captives. Don't worry, there's no infection. You won't die under normal circumstances. I'll change your bandages tomorrow morning. You have a fever due to stress, so you don't need to cool down physically. Drink more water. Don't press on the wound when you sleep. Don't move too much. If you move too much, it will increase muscle movement and secrete fluids. A winged knight looked at the captive's wound and patiently said to him, "It hurts. I can't sleep at all. I vomit every time I eat. Can I still live?" The wounded looked at the winged knights like a sick person looking at a doctor, hoping that the winged knights would give them a definite answer. Featherwood Flying Cavalry took out something from his bag, which was the size of an ink stick. They were afraid that they wouldn't have any food to eat in spring, and if they didn't have any necessary activities in winter, they would stop whenever possible. When there was not a large amount of coal and fireplace, the number of people in Chang and who died of suffocation or freezing in the winter was not small. The living conditions of the people in Bohai Sea could not be compared to those in Chang'an. The winters here were long, so the people could only think of ways to save food. There were wild animals on the mountain, but they were not easy to catch. The snow was too thick, and most of the wild animals nearby had been caught. If they went further away and encountered wild boars, it was hard to say who would take care of who. The local grain industry was poor, and the crop yield was low. The methods of retting and fertilizing introduced in the newspaper were a great help to the local people. Li Endong and the rest had already finished their breakfast, but they were still cooking. They caught some pheasants to make chicken soup, while Lecha's tribe provided them with dried vegetables. Lecha's tribe decided to follow them. They were the seventh tribe. The large amount of things they had prepared was not of much use. When the Tang dynasty arrived, they would be given a one-time subsidy. De Zhuorong did not come today, probably because he was in the palace looking for something. Li Longji, as one of the Tang emperors, rewarded him with something. In addition, Li Yi, as a trade partner, also gave him a lot of luxurious goods. For example, mirrors, diesel oil, perfume, and some items sold in Tianlan Pavilion. The other high-ranking officials and leaders of the big clans in Bohai Sea all came to trade. The ordinary people took out pine nuts, dried blood-red rivet mushrooms, ginseng, deer antler, and mink fur that they had stored at home to trade. Previously, the big clans in Bohai Sea received these things once, but the people were afraid, so they took out a small portion to trade with the big clans, especially the officials. The people who received these things earned the difference in price, and the other things were hidden by the people. The ordinary people mainly wanted to trade for soap and medicine, and kerosene lamps were not something they should use. There were also some people who were smarter. They knew that the Tang dynasty's team would come to trade again this year, so they prepared silage and hay in advance. They did not raise livestock themselves, but purely for trade. For the rest of the bad stuff, they would discuss with the people who had livestock. Next year, they would borrow the livestock for farming, and give the rest to the other party's livestock to eat this year. Li Endong and the others exchanged things with the big clans and officials. The price was fixed, and they did not bargain. For the ordinary people, they gave a little more. Chapter 2011. Here, take a bath in the big tent first. There are clothes inside. Throw your clothes aside and shave your hair. Wash the hair on the arms and legs of the men and women. Li Enjong stood outside a few tents and shouted to a group of people in a commanding manner. These people were slaves and were exchanged by the Li family Zhuangzi. There was no time to clean them up bit by bit, so all their hair was shaved. He found a few local women who knew how to comb their hair to shave the female slaves. The male slaves were handled by the Southwest barbarians. Now they couldn't be polite. If they were too polite, the slaves wouldn't be used to it. Many times, the slaves would take the initiative to protect the slave master's position, just like Stockholm Syndrome. Li Enjong watched the people line up to take a bath in the wooden bucket, and was in a good mood. Cheap. The price of a slave in winter was lower than a sheep. Sheep could be eaten, but slaves were inconvenient to eat. There wasn't much work to do in winter. It was a loss for the slaves to starve to death. If they didn't starve to death, they would be eating for free for several months. Those who raised slaves sold them. There were also those who specialized in selling slaves. Now they were the most worried, unless they were beautiful women or men. Others were not willing to raise them well, but Li Enjong was willing to take them back. He understood the importance of a person's manpower. Not to mention a sheep. Even 100 sheep wouldn't be exchanged. Dongzhu couldn't continue to look for slaves in the Tang dynasty. When he encountered slaves, he had to rescue them. He bought them and arranged jobs for them. This referred to the people of the Tang dynasty, who became slaves for various reasons. Dongzhu didn't care about foreign slaves. Anyway, he didn't buy them. He was afraid of spies. It was the first time he bought slaves in Bohai country, so it was too late to arrange spies. The slaves in front of him were brought back to rest for a period of time. When their bodies recovered, they could arrange jobs and teach them knowledge. They were the slaves of the Li family Zhuangzi. How many sheep were they worth? The slaves obediently went in to take a bath. They were already used to it, or numb. They only had one thing to pursue: to live. After taking a bath and changing into clean clothes, the slaves put on their leather hats and ate at the side. The chicken soup was free. Whoever wanted to drink it, it was oily and smelled fragrant. The slaves ate and scooped chicken, rice, and pickles. There were limited quantities. The Southwest barbarians were responsible for the food. They judged how much the slaves should eat based on their height and weight. They weren't allowed to eat too much and die. Some slaves with their children. The children were not necessarily born of slaves and slaves, but could also be born of the master and female slaves. Usually, In this kind of situation, those with status would not admit it, even if the child was his. He would line up a male slave and make him marry a female slave. He would even directly say that the female slave had done something with someone, and then kill the female slave and her child. The Bohaisi had a king, and the social hierarchy was even stricter than the Turks. The Turks were not afraid. Even if a female slave gave birth to a child, it was still their child. Such children were arranged to stay with their mothers, and the older ones were given a chicken leg to chew on. It was difficult for the young ones to eat meat, unless they ate meat porridge. Otherwise, they would be given tofu made by the Southwest barbarians themselves. The tofu was still warm. She boiled the fermented beans in water and drizzled a little juice on the tofu. The child used a spoon to scoop and eat. Unfortunately, it was winter now, and the pheasants did not lay eggs. It was difficult for them to survive. They had to wait until spring, or else they would be fed eggs. The people of the Li family Zhuangzi were afraid that the slaves would wolf down their food, which was not good for their stomachs. As a result, the slaves ate in small mouthfuls and chewed carefully after taking a bite. They are eating elegantly. Lianqi looked at them and said. Li Enan stared at him. In the past, when you were working hard in other people's houses, if they gave you a caddy of marinated beef, you would eat it in big bites. What? There is no marinated beef. Dongzhu made the stew and sauce, and no one gave it to me. Beef, Lianqi said. What if there is? Li Enan emphasized. I will hide it and eat it secretly. I will eat it a little at a time. All right. They are not willing to eat it now. Lianqi reacted. The slaves had not eaten much food until now, and they were afraid that they would eat too much. They were also worried that they would not be able to taste the food. Only the rich could eat tofu and bean sprouts in the past. Li Enan sighed. When there was no Dongzhu, tofu and bean sprouts could be eaten once every half a month, and it was considered good. Now, it had become the food of the ordinary people in the capital and Hunan government. With so many small tools, it saved a lot of time for the people. The people's income increased, and they could afford to eat it. The two people chatted. The slaves did not care about what the new masters were talking about. Anyway, they felt that the food was delicious. They had eaten it before. When the masters were happy, they would give the leftovers to the slaves to eat. At that time, they were fighting with each other. If they did not fight, they would not be able to eat it. Now that it was in front of them, it belonged to whoever owned it, and no one else was allowed to touch it. The children among the slaves lowered their heads to eat. The tofu was shaved with their teeth, bit by bit. Their tongues licked the tofu that entered their mouths. The tofu was crushed on the palate before it was chewed into the stomach. After eating, the slaves were arranged to rest and sleep. They knew that they did not eat well, and they had to remove the snow and carry things to exchange. They were very tired, and by the way they were sold. They were full of worry and fear for the future. After eating they slept. When they woke up, they would be fine. Don't let yourself think about things when your body is in the worst state. The people of the Li family Zhuangzi were familiar with this operation, because Li Yi deliberately let them feel it. When they were tired, someone sent a message that they were going to be driven away overseas. In such a state, they were not pleasing to the eye and felt that they were abandoned by the whole world. Later they found out that it was not so. It was said that they would be given more monthly allowance, and that the female slaves liked whoever they liked. At that moment, they felt that the sky was clear and they had the whole world. This was the state. After they knew, they began to strengthen their confidence. I am the strongest. I will not fall, no matter what I face. The commander of the 3 armies could be taken, but the common man could not take away his will. Even if he was a woodcutter cutting firewood in the mountains in winter, he had to be strong in the face of danger. He could not give up because he still had his wife, children and parents at home. Don't look down on yourself. Don't think that you are a waste. You have strength. You are not stupid. You just lack an opportunity. If others do not give you an opportunity, you will get an opportunity through other means. Tell yourself that you have a strong place. Don't be discouraged. Otherwise you will become the depression that Dongzhu said. Li Indong and the others received this kind of education. They were tenacious and lacked understanding. Others might not be like them. unless the slaves succeeded in following them back. At that time, Dongzhu would teach, and Dongzhu would encourage. Oh, his ability to pacify people's hearts was great. On the other side, Fan Fan continued to recruit people with the winged knights. Do you want to go to the Tang dynasty? In the Tang dynasty, there will be meat to eat. It will not be cold in winter or hot in summer. Don't doubt it. Do you know the Book of Songs? It says, the winter thunder shakes the summer snow. See, right? Come with me. We have to set off at dawn. Anyway, in order to trick people into going to the Tang dynasty, Fan Fan was shameless. He twisted all kinds of explanations and took the words out of context. Chapter 2012. Fan Fan send a report to Dongzhu. There are more than 4,000 slaves, including those who are willing to go with us. I estimate that there will be more than 10,000 people when we go back. What about the seaside? Lianbei took a bunch of candied hawthorns and found Fan Fan. He gave them out along the way. He gave them to some 1-year-old children. The children were young and did not lack candied hawthorns. The children could not eat it, but the children's mothers could. The children just needed to lick it. It was human instinct. Children naturally liked to eat candies. The absorption of food was mostly completed by the conversion of sugar. Was the conversion of other things as fast as the sugar itself? Without sugar, the fastest protein intake was from milk. Therefore, during Li Yi's time, some people touted milk. Milk, goat milk, camel milk, and even human milk. This referred to the beginning. Lions and tigers also drank milk at first. Mammals, but did they still drink milk later? Fan Fan was cooking skewers for the children. It was the skewers of wild boar bones and pheasant soup. The skewers were small fish and shrimps plus the tofu skin. Before making tofu, Fan Fan unkindly picked the tofu skin when boiling the soy milk. He was too embarrassed to let the concentration of soy milk increase and pick out the tofu. However, when making tofu, he used soy milk and gauze to press the tofu dry. There were thousands of tofu sheets. He did not ask for the dried tofu. The materials were used for the tofu. The process of processing beans was like this. It was like the skin of the dough. Picking the tofu skin, making the tofu pudding, pressing the tofu, dry tofu, and pressing the dried tofu again. During this process, there were also bean dregs and small tofu. The soaking and grinding of soybeans was called soy milk. The soaking and grinding of mung beans was called soy milk. If the mung beans were not fermented, and the concentration increased, they would be deliberately used to make mung bean noodles. If the concentration continued to increase, let's steam mung bean cakes to eat. Chinese cuisine was like this. Look at the cuisine, and distinguish between the rare and the rare. The children gathered around. Just by smelling the soup, they felt that it was fragrant. With the arrival of the Tang dynasty's trading team, the entire Bohai city became different. This was a grand trading time. Everyone could participate. Brilo found a Fan Fan to rest, and brought a small basket of tussock cocoons to him. Do you want to eat this and drink wine? Do you like it? Fan Fan looked at the yellow cocoon and asked. I didn't eat it in the past, because it was inconvenient. It was too watery when boiled, and too dry when roasted. Later, it was written in the newspaper that it was best to dry stir-fry it, or add a little less oil to the wine and fry it slowly in a pan. When we first saw the newspaper, there were few pots and iron. There isn't much iron now. Everyone says that Li Dongzhu knows all the mineral resources in the world. Everyone complains that the newspapers don't write about us. Bolero took out a small knife to cut the cocoon. There was a chrysalis inside, but the chrysalis was unwilling to move. In the spring of the following year, the cocoon would break, and a moth with wings would appear. This moth was edible. The most common way to eat it was to roast it over a fire, and then stuff it into one's mouth. One couldn't open one's mouth, otherwise, the moth's juice would spurt out. When Li Yi was young, 1 in 10 people could eat it like this. It was a tussa moth from the northeast. One would grab something to roast, and the moth would move in the palm of one's hand. By the time Li Yi grew up, only 1 in 100 people would dare to do it. That would be awesome. Li Yi dared. He had been wild since he was young. As long as he was told that this thing could be eaten, he would be like a cicada monkey. What was there to be afraid of? What everyone was afraid of was that it was difficult to distinguish the species. There was no problem with silkworm moths, and there was no problem with the skybean moth, but there was no problem with the skyfrost moth. Fan Fan picked one up. You changed it? There's no need. Dongju doesn't actually care about this kind of appetite. I picked it up and hung it on a tree. Its color is about the same as snow. It's warm, and some of the insects inside can survive. Bolero felt wronged. Why would I change it? I don't want anything. I just want to bring my people to the Tang dynasty alive. This is the use of resources. The importance of sales channels and logistics. Some things around you are worthless, but they can be sold at a high price elsewhere. Whoever controls this channel can control both the seller and the buyer. Fan Fan pointed at the cocoon with his finger. The cocoon had been in a dormant state before, but now it was awakened. Its head, or rather its tail, moved back and forth. Bolero wasn't interested in the cocoon. He asked Fan Fan, "Does Li Dongju like to eat it?" Dongju can eat anything. Dongju doesn't like to eat things from the northeast. Dongju likes the land in the northeast. Fan Fan told Bolero bluntly. Has Dongju eaten now? Bolero understood, and wanted to inquire more about the details of life there. God knows. It's like you asking me if there will be heavy snow tomorrow. Fan Fan gave this answer after some thought. At noon in Luoyang, Sui asked Li Yi, "Is it going to snow tomorrow?" From the current situation, it shouldn't be. The humidity and temperature aren't enough. But if warm and humid air suddenly arrives, it will be different. Li Yi replied. He was actually in a difficult position. He didn't have a satellite cloud picture, so he could only analyze it through another system. Generally speaking, when the humidity increased and the air pressure dropped, there would be precipitation in such weather. This was the data analysis from the ground. The satellite had its own infrared, cloud, and wind flow. To put it simply, no one could predict the future with absolute certainty, not even him at that time. All the weather was normal, and then the geomagnetic field reacted. Clouds began to gather, and the computer analyzed according to the data. If you didn't enter the key data model, it was impossible for it to give an answer alone. According to the data, many earthquakes occurred in the middle of the night or early in the morning, and then the earthquake clouds appeared. Why did the probability of earthquakes have to be high at night or early in the morning? This was a scientific problem. I mean, if there's a hailstorm, what can you do? Suer asked directly. So be it. It's fine as long as people aren't hit. I have a way to stop the hail, but the price is too high. It's not worth it. Li Yi was more relaxed about such a problem. There were several types of anti-hail rockets, including rain. However, it wasn't worth it. The lifespan consumed was far from being compensated by the income from the fields. Xiao Yi, the Hunter Conference will be held tomorrow. Are you participating? Song Jing suddenly asked. Yes, not only me, but His Majesty as well. This Hunter Conference is actually a fusion of the government and the people. Systematization, organization, scale, and institutionalization. There are many things involved. Once the government makes an appearance, it will indicate whether the surrounding hunters' hut supplies and the imperial government's policies support the problem there. Li Yi knew the situation. What he was facing now was definitely not just the children of Luoyang Palace who were studying. It involved the people at the lowest level of society. It was the hunters who went up the mountain. Before it snowed in Luoyang, the hunters were already preparing in advance. The local hunters had different thoughts from ordinary people. They wanted to survive. Chapter 2013. The afternoon sun raised the temperature to more than 20 degrees Celsius. Li Longji's team set off to return to Li family Zhuangzi. They didn't want to stay in drunken immortal house any longer. The people of Shaoluonan village sent them out for 5 miles. They only returned after being persuaded 3 times. 30 miles wasn't far. They arrived at Zhuangzi in less than 2 hours. The people next to Zhuangzi ran to the roadside and bowed. They looked up and peeked. It was just a carriage. They couldn't see the key people. People came and went on the 25 miles road from Li family Zhuangzi to Luoyang Palace. The Li family Zhuangzi needed supplies, and others came to sell them. From Li family Zhuangzi's mountain to the west, to the Martyrs Cemetery and Pear Garden, There were projects under construction. The people went there to watch the fun. There were also many monks and Taoists rushing there. They had to decorate the scene. In addition, the hunters who were further away and delayed on the road would participate in the meeting tomorrow. The hunting dogs were very quiet. They didn't bark at people and didn't need to be tied up. They even had to talk to their owners before going to the toilet. The owners helped arrange the seats. If the hunting dogs urinated and peed on the mountain, it would bring death to themselves and their owners. Other large animals would follow the smell and find them. Feng Tao volunteered to stand outside to receive his colleagues. His white-haired dog sat next to him. It looked at its colleagues and helped to receive them. Xiaofeng, this is white-haired. Why does it look different? I haven't seen it for a month. Its body has grown normal, but its eyes. A hunter suddenly noticed the change in white-haired when he was talking with Feng Tao. His 4 dogs could make a fuss with white-haired dog. Why were they so obedient now? Blind sure is here. Feng Tao mentioned a name. We know he's here. He's with you, your white-haired dog is now. The hunter reacted. He took 2 steps forward and squatted down to look at white-haired dog carefully. After more than a minute he got up. Blind Jing Zhao sure is really worthy of his reputation. Tell me how he trained it. The hunter looked at white-haired dog with envy. Then he looked at his 4 dogs. His eyes were full of expectation. Blind Shi and Chuang Shan came here. I happened to be here. Feng Tao was happily talking about the process of white-haired dog's transformation and how the mad dog was taught a lesson. So that's how it is. You owe me a big favor. It's just that this method doesn't work well. If I let my dog face it, it's likely that it won't even be able to be a hunting dog. The hunter realized that there was a problem. White hair almost resisted the mountain guard dog's pressure. His dog had come once, and it was over. It's not like Blind Sure only has one way. Let's go and take a look. What if there's a way? Feng Tao was not in a position to say anything else. All right, let's go meet him. The hunter sighed and called for his 4 dogs to follow. The hunters who came all knew Feng Taozheng. News of him saving people was spreading. Seeing the huge change in his white hair, he thought that it was a reward from God for saving people. The commoners couldn't tell that the dogs were guarding the mountain. They passed by to look and see which dog was a good dog. The dog was big, and its eyes were full of spirit. It did not make a fuss. Why can't I raise a dog like this at home? Where did the hunter find it? The hunters didn't know what the others were thinking. They went in to find a place to settle down. First they settled down the dogs, then they settled down. After finishing his work, he went to the carpentry and blacksmith workshop. The craftsmen in Zhuangzi were working hard, making things for the future hunter's hut. The hunters provided the ideas, and the craftsmen completed it. The hunters could actually make it themselves. Simple iron tools and tools were no problem. They were good at making traps. However, compared to the craftsmen, the hunters' craftsmanship was far worse. The craftsmen made things strong, durable, and beautiful. The hunters' huts were placed on the branches of trees, on the rocks, and beside the stream. The original hunters' huts were made with branches, leather, and grass curtains. Now they were all made of wood. They could be assembled and strong. There were even many small windows that could be opened at any time. In case they were surrounded by wolves, they could hide in the hut and find a place to open a small window to shoot arrows. If they encountered bears and wild boars, the normal hunters' huts wouldn't be able to withstand it. There was no problem with the current hut. They could just hit it. It was guaranteed that it wouldn't be damaged. I've made a spearhead for you. The hut is filled with waxwood poles of different lengths and thicknesses. Hoes, sickles, kitchen knives, and saws have all been prepared for you. When the time comes, there will be a batch of medicine put in. It will be dried and maintained with lime. The hunters' huts in the capital government were made this way. The woodcutters would go in to collect firewood, sometimes to rest. After eating the food inside, you don't have to hunt immediately to make up for it. There are many things inside. When you go down the mountain, you can go to the government and tell them. The leader of the craftsmen, Zhang Shenlin, and the group of hunters who had gathered around to watch said that the people in the capital government were safe. The people who lived at the foot of the mountain were always worried that wild beasts would come down the mountain to eat them. With a good hut, the hunters could control a large area without wild beasts that could harm the people. Most of the villagers had the surname Yang. It was already good enough for a person with the surname Huang to live there. How could they steal? He knew that the situation would change. If that was the case, it would not be good to continue using the original hut. When we reach the Li family Zhuangzi, we will arrange for people to go over and take a look. Before the hut is built, no one else is allowed to raise any ideas. Li nodded in agreement. No problem. You know your own hut best. I will not restrict you. I am only responsible for providing things and logistics. Why should I insist on other aspects? I am not some self-righteous official. When those officials are not willing to change, they will think that they have been slapped in the face and will not admit their mistakes. Li Dongzhu, I heard that many hunters in the imperial government are skilled in using tools and medicine to treat external injuries. We don't know how to do it now. Can you give us some training? External injuries are often fatal. Especially in the mountains, people will start to have a fever and talk nonsense. Pus and blood will not stop flowing out of the wounds. Another hunter made a request. He did not know how to use alcohol, suture needles or gauze. He heard from others that the hunters in the imperial government were very skilled. They seemed to have specially learned it. Li nodded again. After the meeting tomorrow, the nurses in the Li family Zhuangzi will explain it to everyone. It is actually not difficult. There are pigs and rabbits for you to practice. If you are really injured, that there is no anesthetic. Everyone bear with the pain. Actually, at that time, you will not feel pain for a short period of time. You will be in a state of excitement. In order to survive, you have a lot of potential. You can bear with it. As Li Yi spoke, he recalled some of his situations. He was in danger. Someone's arm was stuck and injured. He could not take it out and could only watch as it bled. Ruthless people did not care about the pain at that moment. They used a small knife to cut off their injured arm from the wound. They even broke the bone and broke the arm in order to survive. When their arm was cut, they went to the hospital and said that it was too painful, and they needed anesthetic. What about when they encountered a disaster? Without anyone to rely on, they did not say anything about anesthetic and endured it. The hunters did not know what Li Yi was thinking. When they heard Li Yi say that there would be special training, they smiled again. This was medicine. If they learned well, not only would they be able to treat their own wounds, they would also be able to help other villagers who were injured. In the past, they knew how to set bones. It was just that they did not know how to suture external injuries. They could only bandage them. If they were not treated well, they would swell and bleed. Then they would not be able to survive and die. There is one more thing. If you find herbs along the way, you need to pick them and send them to the yamen. The Li family Zhuangzi will take them. For this, we will teach you more about how to identify herbs. There are pictures and you know a little about it, but it is not enough. It is dangerous for others to go deep into the mountains to pick herbs. You are just doing it conveniently. Li Yi said another thing to let the hunters familiarize themselves with large amounts of herbs. Chapter 2015. Li Yi had just thought of it. He had never thought about it before. It was not easy for herb gatherers to gather herbs. They had to face wild beasts and other dangers. In the Tang dynasty, it took time to plant and cultivate herbs in large quantities. Some herbs were not for rice, and could only be harvested several times a year. The roots of dandelions could only be harvested once a year. Scutellaria was harvested once a year. It was not effective enough. Ginseng needed at least 5 years to be cultivated. Some even needed 30 years. There was not enough time to cultivate them. They could only continue to find them in the wild. Hunters knew some herbs, but were not professional enough. They could be taught. After learning, they would go up the mountain to gather herbs. In the Tang dynasty, there was always a shortage of herbs. Although there were so many herbs in the local medicine shops, the people could not afford medicine. The people who had headaches and fever endured it. The injured people also endured it. When they were seriously ill, they would find a doctor to treat them at home. They spent a lot of money, but they could not be saved. If they had just fallen ill, they would have immediately hired someone to treat them. After spending some money, they would have recovered. The number of people who died of illness in the capital government was much less than when medical books were published. The imperial physicians of the Imperial Medical Department treated people for free. But the medicine was not necessarily free. As long as the people in the other medical centers and medicine shops learned medical books, they would not be allowed to receive treatment fees for a few years according to the regulations. Or if the treatment period was extended, they would receive less treatment fees. They were considered to be paying tuition fees. When they were disciples, they only received a monthly allowance from their master. They did not receive a salary. When the people in the capital government felt uncomfortable, they would immediately find someone to treat them. After all, it was free. When some illnesses were treated, they would say that they should buy medicine. After spending 5 or 6 yuan, they would recover quickly. When the people heard that they would only have this little money, they would buy medicine and boil it at home. The examination was free. Whether they could afford the medicine was another matter. A minor illness would not be dragged into a major illness. A major illness would be dragged into a serious illness. And a serious illness would become a swona. You will enter the mountain once and bring out your prey. You will not immediately enter the mountain again. You will take advantage of the rest time to learn. Mastering a skill is not a loss. Don't wait until you need it and regret that you did not learn it properly. Take me for example. I had many good opportunities to learn skills, but I did not know how to cherish them. Until now, I have suddenly realized that it is a pity that it is difficult to return to the past. Otherwise, how could I be so weak? Li spoke earnestly to the hunters and used himself as an example. The hunters and craftsmen. Dongzhu, are you sure you're not trying to attack us? Your little dolls might know, but why can't your weak dolls see it? You can already fly in the sky, and you're telling us that you're not skilled enough? Owner, please leave a way out for people to live. How suffocating. Brother E, let's get down to business. It's not easy for the common people. Why do you have to do this? A voice sounded. Everyone nodded and looked toward the source of the voice. Third brother, where are your guards? Li quickly put his hands into his pockets and took out a small pistol in each hand. I'm surrounded by the people of the Tang dynasty. How could they hurt me? Li Longji shook his head slightly. Greetings, Your Majesty. The people of the Li family Zhuangzi did not bow. They looked at the people who were not from the Li family Zhuangzi and greeted them. Greetings, Your Majesty. The others bowed and placed their hands in the most conspicuous position, palms facing upwards. Li took a closer look. What the fuck? You guys have started to put on makeup. What's on Guizi's face? It's waxy yellow. Is it some kind of anti-cold wax? The hunters were excited to see the Tang emperors. At the same time, they looked at the small pistol in Li Yi's hand. They knew that it was a weapon. They did not know how powerful it was, but they guessed that it was extraordinary. Li Yi put away the gun and stood beside Li Longji. Third brother, why don't you rest? You must be tired from the journey back. It's been less than an hour by car. I couldn't find you, so I asked the little robot and came to take a look. Li Longji waved his hand. He was young and full of energy. Let's get down to business. Li Yi responded. Business is to train more herb gatherers. Medical apprentices from the capital and Hunan are the most suitable candidates. They follow the hunters into the mountains and listen to their words. They must not act on their own. Survival and safety are the priority, and herb gathering is secondary. They must not overshadow the main task, and they must not put the cart before the horse. For example, if the hunters say that we can't pick the herbs on the edge of the cliff, the herb gatherers can't go. Li thought of cooperation. The herb gatherers had strong survival skills in the wild, but their ability to deal with wild beasts was not as good as the hunters. If the two sides cooperated, the hunters would learn about herbs, and the herb gatherers would be familiar with hunting skills. There was no such thing as industry impact. Industry impact would only occur when supply exceeded demand. Then can the administration be too clear? Li Longji found an excuse to ask about politics. His question was in the category of philosophy. It's not left, not right, not in the middle, Li Yi replied. Chapter 2016. The dew at night seemed to be extra heavy. The sun came out in the morning and didn't dissipate for a long time. The people who were going to feed the rabbits had to continue waiting. Feeding the rabbits grass with dew would cause them to have diarrhea and die. The hunting dogs ran with their owners. After cleaning up, they came back to wait for food. The owners ate first, then went to the meeting for food. The hunting dogs normally had 2 meals a day. Before entering the mountains, they would be fed a good meal. They were similar to wolves. They could go without food for 10 days to half a month, but they had to drink water. When the dogs didn't finish the food fed by their owners, the hunter conference began. Li Longji and the others watched from behind the scenes. Li Yi sat in front of the stage and didn't say anything. The host started to talk. First, he talked about what kind of conference it was. Then he talked about why it was held. Then, he talked about the content of the conference and how to hold it well. In fact, it was to change the unspoken rules between hunters into open rules. Everyone had an organization. It was similar to the various associations under Li Yi. Zhong Xiaojing had a calligraphy association. Li Longji was the president. Li Longji was not the president. Li Yi was not the president either. The next process was to ask who was the most suitable president. Everyone looked at blind Feng Daoshi. Old Shi sat on Li Yi's left side. Hu Feng sat on Li Yi's right side. The left side was the leader. The things inside the hut were all provided by Li family Zhuangzi. The key was that blind Feng had a lot of dogs guarding the mountain. If he became the president, everyone would have a reason to ask him to watch the dogs. If someone else became the president, they wouldn't be able to order blind Feng around. Blind Feng's home was in the capital. The hunter conference belonged to Hunan province. Only when blind Feng became the president would he be a part of Hunan province. After the president of the association, the vice president was chosen. Hu Feng was chosen. He was blind Feng's junior. He had made contributions to the Tang dynasty. Another local who was good at hunting became the second vice president. He was chosen based on his own ability. The last vice president position was given to Feng Taojing. Feng Taojing had set up a monument to save the dead dogs. It was next to the cemetery of martyrs. How could a person who fought to the death for ordinary people not be trustworthy? Now that he had become the vice president, he would definitely help others if they needed help. What's more, his white-furred dog had become a mountain guard dog. In the future, it might breed another mountain guard dog. Next up were the directors, who were in charge of the specific affairs of various aspects. Everyone could make their own choices. Some people were born to communicate with others, so it would be very convenient for them to communicate. After selecting the candidates, the most important thing was that the membership fee had not been collected. In the past, there was no charge. Everyone hunted by themselves and followed the rules. There was no mention of how much the membership fee was to be paid, or how it was to be paid. All that was said was that it was to be paid. Everyone looked at Li Yi again. You have a lot of money, so tell me. Li Yi moved the microphone closer to him and coughed. Aha! It's about money. Born without bringing it, dead without taking it away. Therefore, as long as the person is not dead, it is very important. Everyone. Are you sure your two sentences can connect? Don't you find it contradictory? Just ask them to pay. It's hard to measure how much they have to pay. Some people are good at hunting and have a small family, so it's fine to pay more. On the other hand, some people have a large family and need to feed their family. As for the association, they don't want to join, but they don't dare to. Everyone else is a member, but he isn't. How will he interact in the future? Li Yi was telling the truth. If they didn't join the association, they would have to leave the industry. The hunters nodded. Yes, if they refused to join the association, would they be able to enter the hunter's hut in the future? I have an idea. It's like renting a lease. Every year, everyone will take time out to do things according to orders. For example, they will be responsible for scouting, protecting herb gatherers when they enter the mountains, cleaning up large beasts in a certain area, and so on. There must be money to maintain this association. I will pay. I only have one request. If the price is the same, the Li family Zhuangzi will have the priority to purchase. Zhuangzi will look at the prey first, especially the good stuff. If others offer 10 grams, Zhuangzi will also offer 10 grams and sell it to Zhuangzi. Li Yi came up with a plan. No one would be at a disadvantage. It was just that he would have less profit. He would never do this for money. When the hunters were rich, their lives would be better. Wouldn't society develop? With a large number of hunters' huts, the probability of hunters dying from hunting would be reduced, and their families would be stable. If he earned a little money, he would earn a lot more. Standing at the top of the world, he would have a sense of accomplishment and eat game while he was at it. When the hunters heard this, they were indeed happy. They felt that it was better to work than to ask them for money. Their hearts ached when they had to fork out money, but they had no problem with working. Many people actually had the same idea. Even if they could earn enough money from hunting for 10 days, they would be willing to spend 20 days to pay the fee. Li looked at everyone's expression. If we help herb gatherers go up the mountain or scout, we will try to arrange it when the imperial court does not allow hunting. Li Dongzhu, is what you said true? That's great. It won't affect our hunting. What if prey jumps out when we are protecting people? It's not prey, it's a beast. Li Dongzhu, although there is no hunting ban this year, we are willing to hunt while leading people. We won't be afraid if we have more huts. Yes, Li Dongzhu, herb gatherers know a lot. Sometimes they also hunt. Otherwise, there will be no food. Li Dongzhu, the membership fee is not too high. Actually, we don't need the association's money. We will maintain the hunters' huts in the future. We guarantee that there will be more and more food, especially jerky. Sometimes, when we are lucky, we will get a lot of prey and can't bring them down. We can only skin some and sell them at the foot of the mountain. It's a pity that the meat is far away from the huts. Now that there are so many huts, we can only find a square place. The hunters spoke one after another. They were simple and honest, and were unwilling to let Li Yi spend more money. Li Yi heard the shouts of the people near Li Yi. He thought for a moment, and turned his head to ask the person behind the scenes. Old Bai, should we advertise the crab cakes and prawn crackers sold by the Ministry of Revenue? What advertisement? Bai Gu's voice sounded. You pay for the advertisement. The hunters' clothes will be embroidered with your brand's logo. When people ask, the hunters will say that the ones from the Ministry of Revenue are delicious. Li Yi asked Bai Gu according to the E-League's operation. There were clothes, food, and things from the 3 E-Leagues in Chang and at the Luoyang docks. The hunters were so considerate of themselves. Advertise. Is it useful? Don't tell me that the results are the same regardless of whether they have the money or not. Bai Gu was skeptical. The things sold by the Ministry of Revenue were different from the E-League. The E-League relied on advertisements to buy clothes in bulk. The E-League was a labor-intensive industry. The price of buying goods in bulk was low, and the production cost was even lower. Everyone was only responsible for one step. If the price of the same style of clothes was lower than others, the merchants would buy more. The Ministry of Revenue sold noodles and fried food. Why would the merchants buy in bulk? Why didn't he realize this before? As long as the advertisement fee is paid, I guarantee that there will be a way to increase sales. How much can you sell without advertising? Compare after advertising. Li guaranteed. The higher the advertisement fee, the better the effect. Chapter 2017. How much? Bai Gu agreed. One is the buyout price, and the other is the share price. The buyout price is a one-time payment, and the share will depend on your increased sales. You are not allowed to fake the accounts. Li gave 2 methods. He directly collected money from others. So how could he have the time to check the accounts and share the shares? How much is the difference? Do you need to consider the increase in spending after a month for people who come from other places to Luoyang? Bai Gu was cautious. He was no longer stupid when it came to economic matters. People who came to Luoyang had not made much money yet, so it was impossible for them to buy other consumer goods. After a month, when they had money, they would have to take the advertising sales into account. Wait for another month to give you time to collect data. Li Yi was easy to talk to and was not in a hurry. After another month, it will be the new year, and the consumption will naturally increase. How do I calculate it? Can I calculate the first month? Then you can advertise at the beginning of February and see how much more there is in February compared to the first month. Bai Gu gave a time frame. The consumption in the first month was the highest. In February, the products sold after advertising might not even be as good as those in the first month. Refund. The advertising was not effective. No hurry. I will advertise for others first. You can compare similar products. If there is a trap and others jump in, you will be able to avoid it. If you think the advertising is okay, after the first month, I will advertise for you in February according to the share price. Li considered the problem from the customer's point of view. Everything was for the sake of the customer. Okay. Ahem. Baigu was about to agree when someone coughed. The sound came from Yao Chong. The cough was full of energy. That doesn't sound right. Let's talk about it later. We are in a meeting. It's your turn to be born. Baigu immediately changed his words. He was in a dilemma. Li ignored Baigu and turned on the microphone again. Let's celebrate today and have a bonfire party tonight. Tomorrow, everyone, the 16 guards, and the winged knights will enter the mountains to build a hut. The young hunters cheered, and the older ones smiled. The hunter's hut was their foundation. No hunter could leave the hunter's hut and go deep into the forest. They were different from the winged knights. When the winged knights went into the mountains, they were special forces. Their efforts and returns were different. How much would it cost to train a winged knights? They went into the mountains to hunt, and according to individual calculations, the prey they obtained was not enough to feed themselves. Hunters had strong survival skills in the wild. They went into the mountains to earn money. It was easy to survive, but it was difficult to feed their families by hunting. Even when Li Yi's scientific research team entered the mountains, it was like exploring a sinkhole. The physical fitness of the team members had to be good, and they had to find a wilderness survival expert to accompany them. When they reached the place, they had to spend money to hire local hunters. They didn't call them hunters but locals. He had always hunted since he was young, even though the country did not allow him to hunt. Some people died in the process of gathering wild honey and herbs, and those who survived understood the situation there. In the mountains of Luoyang, in a one-on-one fight, hunters with hunting dogs and winged knights, it was not certain who would survive. If it had been Blind Sure in the Qinling Mountains with his group of mountain guard dogs and a small team of 5 winged knights, the winged knights would have directly retreated. There was no point in sending themselves to their deaths, unless they brought guns, binoculars, and night vision devices. Otherwise, the longer the group of mountain guard dogs stayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for the winged knights. Did they rest at night? Did they take turns keeping watch? They were so tired that they died. After Li Yi announced the end of the meeting, the hunters went to find their dogs and tell them the good news. Dogs could not understand complicated words, but they could feel their owner's emotions. Li Yi took a shower and changed his clothes. He went to the hospital to teach the nurses about the cadavers who had passed away in grief Tianfang. When they were still alive, they were asked if they were willing to become cadavers. Usually they were buried in half a month. In the future, the Li family Zhuangzi would burn incense and add to the grave during festivals. If they were unwilling, they would be buried in coffins. After all, there was a lot of land now. When it came to matters of faith, one was that the corpse had many cuts, and then enjoyed the incense. The other was that the corpse would not be passive, but there would be no incense. Those who could enter grief Tianfang basically had no relatives. They had even lost their clansmen. Without incense, wouldn't they become lonely ghosts? As for being cut, wouldn't it be stitched up? The people in grief Tianfang all chose to enjoy the incense. There were many cadavers, and no one jumped out to say no. No official dared to impeach Li Yi. He could only pray that he and his family would not fall ill, especially for diseases like appendicitis that required surgery. Those who could perform such operations would use cadavers to practice. After Li Yi left, Baigu asked Yao Chong, "Yuanji, is it inappropriate? Just now, I wanted to promise to advertise in the first month, and you coughed to remind me. What's wrong? When Shaoyi finishes advertising for others, can the Ministry of Revenue still sell things?" Yao Chong was different from Baigu. Baigu was always thinking about making money. Chapter 2018. Princess Yongmu led a group of people to the outside of the hospital. If they didn't go in, the smell would be unpleasant. The strong female bodyguard stood at the closest position, while the other special forces members spread out. Unless Li Yi flew alone with her, She would definitely be accompanied by a group of guards when she went out. She was the weakest link and was easily targeted. This included the members of Wentian Orchid Pavilion. Now they needed someone to recommend them, and then they had to check. It was impossible to apply for a membership without half a year, but they could go to Wentian Orchid Pavilion to buy things. Princess Xiaolan took a few popcorn sticks out of nowhere and handed one to Princess Yongmu. Xiaolan, I suddenly feel very disgusted with religions. They can't help the lives of the people. Instead, they make the people pay. Princess Yongmu took the popcorn stick and looked at the people shuttling back and forth like ants at the foot of the mountain. Yes, I hate it too. Xiaolan echoed first. Then she said, in the past it was Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. Everyone had to believe in one, and I didn't know what to do. It was only after Li Lang came that we realized that our civilization itself was a form of faith. The great etiquette is called xia. The beauty of the dress is called hua. After the discussion and teaching, other religions will have to stand aside. Our Li Lang will do whatever he says. They're still there. In the past, the people of the Tang dynasty needed them to stabilize the situation, but now they don't need them. Princess Yongmu used the popcorn stick as a monocular. She saw a blurry person in a monk's robe and curled her lips. She knew how the monks and Taoists operated. The rich people put their land under the temple's name and didn't have to pay anything. The land continued to be planted. The monks and Taoists took part of the benefits, and the rich people took part of the benefits. They took the Tang dynasty's money. There were also all kinds of money given by the people. The temple didn't share it with the Tang dynasty and kept it all for itself. She saw the monks rushing west to participate in the setting of the magic show. The camera turned, and she saw a child waving a popcorn stick in his hand. She turned and asked Xiaolan, "You're not going to snatch the child's snacks, are you?" I arranged for someone to bring them popcorn sticks, and a few for myself. Under normal circumstances, Li Lang would rest for half a day after giving the nurses a cadaver lesson. Where are we going this afternoon? We can't always let them interrogate Li Lang. Li Lang needs to relax. Xiaolan looked at the hospital door and found an excuse for her to go out to play. Into the mountains. The hunters will go into the mountains to build huts. Let's find a place and stay in the mountains for the night. Princess Yongmu had the same playful heart. Different mushrooms had different prices. The difference was too big. They were all fresh mushrooms, so they were 100 times more expensive. Artificially grown gray mushrooms had a short growth cycle and high yields. Mushrooms sold for 1.8 yuan in the supermarket. He could guess how much they cost. When he was young, his golden needle mushrooms were sold in cans. They were very expensive. Back then, how much could he make in a month? 120 to 130 yuan. A can of golden needle mushroom was more than 5 yuan. Later on, who would still buy cans of golden needle mushrooms? They were sold everywhere. One could buy a bunch of them for 1 yuan. When the time comes, the commoners can eat mushrooms with ears and meat, right? Xiaolan thought of the commoners in other places. They were like the farmers in Zhuangzi. They didn't care about food, clothing, and shelter. Food is one thing. People also need to exercise. Otherwise, if you eat too much, you will end up with a bunch of illnesses. Just like some people don't exercise and get too fat. Li wanted to mention in Lushan. He was still a teenager. Later on, when he had a status, he stopped exercising and got a bunch of illnesses. He even lost his sight. When he went out, he had to be carried. Now he was skinny. There was no need to care about him. It was enough to know that he couldn't do anything. Dongzhu, there's news from Zhuangzi. In the Shulands, there's a family. The little robot's shout interrupted Li Yi's train of thought. He was talking about people who had broken bones. The pigeon flew back to Li family Zhuangzi. Seeing the situation, Songda didn't dare to delay, and immediately made a call. The little robots passed the news to each other. It was an emergency. Someone's bone was broken, and his leg was swollen. He took the Salt Gang's fast boat and went down the river. He asked Dongzhu for help. This person was sent back to Tubo and was smashed by a rock. Order the yacht to go out and change to another boat to carry crabs. The crabs can be raised for a few days. Li Yi ordered the yacht to go quickly. They went to the Yangtze River to pick up the person. They didn't have to wait for the person to come. He turned his head and looked at the aircraft that was carried over. Then he looked at Princess Yongmu. Li Lang wants to fly me over? I'm too tired. Let's bring Xiaolan this time. Princess Yongmu smiled sweetly and pushed Xiaolan. Let's all go. I'll change to a bigger one. Let's go together. Li Yi said as he waved his hand. Another aircraft appeared on the ground under his feet. It was a big one. Many people knelt down. This time, many people really saw the means of a god. With our status and identity, we shouldn't do that. The little girl was very gratified. Senior sister, you're right. I should have done something bad behind the scenes. I'll take the lead and get myself into trouble. Master won't do that when he's tricking others. Li Guizong nodded vigorously in agreement. Senior sister was indeed senior sister. Amazing. The little girl was speechless. We can't collect taxes from a large pile of crabs. Baigu was also eating crabs. There were too many crabs thrown off the yacht. The fishermen weren't the only ones who fished them out. The imperial court also fished them out. After they fished them out, they would send a batch over for everyone to eat at night. So they didn't pay taxes. We agreed. Zhang Juling thought that Baigu remembered wrongly and reminded him. So when they paid taxes and threw the crabs from the yacht, they said they fished them out. What a profiteer. Baigu was vexed. Businessmen had many thoughts. It's just one day. They won't do it tomorrow. Song Jing comforted Baigu. Why won't they do it tomorrow? Continue talking about the crabs you fished out today. Baigu didn't react. If they dare to sell the fresh crabs they fished out today tomorrow, we'll investigate them. Crabs don't stay overnight unless they're specially bred. They don't have the means to breed them. Sui reminded Baigu. Who would dare to say that they fished out today's crabs tomorrow? Baigu blinked. I hope the man with a broken leg gets better soon. He was completely relieved. That's right. Just one day. Some were injured. In fact, some died. For those who died, give me the list and put them in the cemetery of martyrs. Li Longji said. His mind wasn't on the crabs. He didn't care about the money. The soldiers died in battle, including those from the House of Subjugation. The civilians were in charge of logistics. Those who didn't die should also be put in the cemetery of martyrs. Even the Tubo dynasty died in battle, let alone the Tang dynasty. They should be with the heavenly pivot and be immortalized forever. After the leader shouted, he swung his backpack in front of him and took out a protective syringe. He opened it and plunged it into the elder. Then he started CPR. Half a minute. Cough, cough, cough. The elder coughed, then gasped and said, You're here. Don't talk, this is going to be. Oh, it's worth it, as long as he's alive. The winged knights wanted to say that the syringe was too valuable, but he suddenly changed his mind. He injected the elder with the cardiac stimulant given by Li Yi. The winged knights next to him handed over a bottle of hot water, which they carried with them when they set off. It was written in the newspaper that a mouthful of hot water could save a person's life in a hypothermic state. It was mainly written for the people south of the Yellow River and north of the Yangtze River. During winter, it would still rain, and when the temperature dropped, people would feel uncomfortable and depressed. Under such circumstances, drinking a few mouthfuls of hot water could ease the pain. If they didn't have hot water, then someone would provide them with free soup. After drinking a few mouthfuls, they immediately felt better. Most suicides due to depression were caused by hypothermia, as hypothermia was the scariest. Sure enough, after drinking a mouthful of hot water, the elder smiled and said, Winged Knights, the Tang dynasty is lucky. Uncle, you have to stay strong. We'll carry you with a pole later. Think positively. Don't die. The Winged Knights don't want a stain on our name. Drink some water, drink a few mouthfuls. Tell me if you feel uncomfortable. We brought a lot of medicine. The winged knights continued to feed the elder water and protect him. It's fine as long as the children are fine. I'm old. The elder drank 2 mouthfuls of water again. Your age has nothing to do with us. We'll bring you back alive. The moment the winged knights set off is the moment this matter will settle down. If you die, what will we settle down? Give me some face. You're an interesting kid. You used good medicine when you stabbed me just now, right? I heard that the Li family's manor uses this method to inject medicine into people's bodies. We have normal medicine. Drink some more water. Li Dongzhu exchanged his life for it, right? I feel like I can carry a pole and walk back. The medicine is not normal. The elder felt his body's condition and came to a conclusion based on the information he had learned before. Chapter 2032. The wind and snow were still the same. The other 30 juniors of the old men also drank the hot water and felt completely revived. Their physical temperature increased, but their mental state was the most important. The winged knights were at the side. Why didn't you take care of the old man? The winged knights people blamed the young men. They saved the old man. But they were wrong. Second uncle kept telling us about his younger days, saying, the young man who wanted to admit his mistake explained the situation. It's not that we don't care, but second uncle was clearly fine just now. You guys, the winged knights were helpless. When you go back, be more respectful to your second uncle. Every day that the old man lives is another day of peace for you guys. After the winged knights people heard this, they understood. The old soldiers were amazing. The old man was always trying to change the mood of the juniors and not let them fall into a depressed state. The wind was so strong, and the old man said a lot. Others were cold, but he was choking on the wind. He only had one thought in his mind. He could die, but the children could hold on. They came quickly. If they were 15 minutes late, the old man would have collapsed. Of course, it was very likely that the old man could still hold on. If he didn't hear their voices, he would still hold on. Just like the old man in the Li family Zhuangzi, he helped to look at the weather and told the children about life experience and principles. Although the old man couldn't do heavy labor, he was worth much more in other aspects. How old is old man? The winged knights asked the old man. I'm just 70 years old. With the favor of the current Tang dynasty, I can go back and live for another 10 years. You guys are not ordinary. Good soldiers of His Majesty. Wings of the country, flourishing like a forest. The old man's tears fell as he spoke. His juniors were very surprised. They had never seen second uncle cry before. Even when the old men of the same generation passed away, second uncle would smile and say, Old men, you can go. I'll find you in 2 days. The old man's outer clothes were taken off and replaced with 2 military blankets from the winged knight's backpack. Anyway, they didn't expect him to walk on his own, so the blankets weren't heavy. The hat on his head had been changed, and his hands were placed in the arms of the winged knights. His shoes and socks were also placed in his arms. His feet smelled like salted fish, so of course he couldn't smell it. The wind was so strong. The winged knights' men helped to massage his legs and arms. They had to be carried back alive. The other winged knights looked for carrying poles to make stretchers. When they saw a basket of dung, they wiped it with snow, chopped it with a knife, turned it over and stepped on it, turning it into a mat. Later, he felt that it was not good enough, so he modified it. It was simpler. If your family was capable, you would be good at taking the imperial examinations and governing the place. If you were in your 30s, you would be waiting to enter the imperial court. In the end, 80-year-old people from other states came to take a look and died. Don't enter the imperial court. Continue to stay here. Therefore, it was very important to restrict the flow of people. Okay. Li Longji didn't care. Find someone to eat. I'll soak in the hot spring for you. Anyway, you won't be here for a while. When you come, my brother Yi will have already returned. Li Longji thought it through. It was the same as Li Yi. Many old soldiers wanted to participate in certain activities. They had to have their bodies checked first. Those who weren't in good health couldn't go. Bai Gu nodded. Hurry up and arrange it. The Ministry of Revenue is ready. He didn't care. The money spent was not worth mentioning. Was 100,000 yuan enough? Not enough. Was 500,000 yuan enough? If it exceeded 1,000,000 yuan, he would look for Xiao Yi. Achoo! Who's talking about me? It's my turn. It's my turn to throw sandbags. In the afternoon, Li Yi was playing sandbags with the children. When he sneezed, he didn't dodge and was hit. Sandbags nowadays didn't contain sand. They contained beans. This was because the newspapers wrote that sandbags contained sand that hurt people. The sand was fine and heavy. When it hit a person's body, it was face-to-face contact. As for beans, it was point contact. It was like acupuncture and massage. Moreover, the sandbags couldn't be filled. There had to be at least a third of the space. When such bean sandbags were thrown, there was a reduction in speed. When the bean sandbags hit the body with a gap, it was a hard injury. When the sand didn't have a gap, it was a hidden injury. Therefore, when Li Yi was young, he always played with beans. Did he not have sand? It was just that there was no sand. At the same time, the sandbags were never full. Later, children were precious. The bean sandbags were replaced with expanded cotton sandbags. When they were thrown, there was no speed or strength. It was not fun at all. Li Yi played with the bean sandbags with the children. The children standing on both sides received the sandbags and stared at him. Chapter 2034. Who will write it down for me? Who will write it down for me? I won't charge anyone for delivering a baby next time. The midwife who asked for the secret manual was anxious. She didn't keep up with the rhythm just now. She only memorized part of it, and didn't dare to ask for a second time. You can't refuse the money. Write it down for sixth aunt. Fang Ao said. His children put down their chopsticks, and looked for ink and paper to write. When rich families looked for midwives, they had to pay before delivering a baby for good luck. If the baby was a boy, the reward would be doubled. The boy would not only carry on the family line, but also be a labor force. In the imperial examination, women could do it. Later, when Wu Zetian fell, there were no female officials. If Wu Zetian didn't rule the Zhou dynasty, there would be no problem for her to be a female official. She was equivalent to helping her children manage the court. If she became an emperor, what about her children? She couldn't live forever. The midwives were responsible for the entire delivery room. Although the midwives Fang Ao found were illiterate, they could learn how to use the medicine produced in the 1,000 gold prescription. They knew how to clean the baby's mouth, and what medicine to drink under various conditions. Ordinary midwives only knew how to boil water, scissors, and clean towels. In the Tang dynasty, they knew that babies must be disinfected and boiled water must not be stopped. Rich families had many pots to boil water together. In ordinary villages, when a family was about to give birth, the neighbors would help boil water. Would you be able to understand what his sixth aunt wrote? Another midwife beside her joked. My son can understand it. My daughter can also read. This sixth aunt puffed out her chest and raised her chin proudly. Ask my daughter to learn it tomorrow. It's free. The other midwife was stimulated. Looking at Princess Yongmu and Xiaolan, she thought that her daughter could work hard and learn. Princess Yongmu's temperament was different from ordinary women. It could be seen in her demeanor. The midwives didn't understand that Princess Yongmu's temperament was achieved by her status, especially now. If you study well regardless of gender, you can always use it in life. Even if you marry in the future, the educated and the uneducated are different. If you marry a man from an ordinary family, the woman will be literate and good at accounting. She will definitely be a housekeeper. Li Yi encouraged her to learn quickly. The Tang dynasty needed a foundation. His children were getting smarter and smarter. The teachers even threw homework to their parents. Anyway, he didn't have it when he was young. When he was young, there was no problem with his family. When his teacher gave him homework, he would not ask any of his family members. Other parents don't know how to do it, but your teacher wants me to help my child with his homework? If I had the ability, why would I use you? When the child encountered a problem in his homework, his father would ask, You haven't finished yet? If he couldn't sleep, wouldn't it cost him money to keep the lights on? Child, I don't know how to write. How am I supposed to write here? His father began to move. You're asking me? What did you learn in school? Later, the child couldn't do his homework. The father asked, "What's wrong?" "You are not allowed to play games." "Child, I don't know how to write. How am I supposed to write here?" His father snatched it over and took a look. "I'll tell you, listen carefully. How can you not know how to do something so simple? Don't look at your phone. Look here. What's the use of it in life? Why did the poultry lay so few eggs? Check the information." Oh, so that was the case. If he didn't even know how to read, and couldn't even list out simple mathematical formulas, how would he be able to find information? Li firmly believed in this, as the facts had proven it. Africa was too hot to grow crops. It was not a desert. The soil in Africa was very fertile. When his country's peacekeeping force went there were no vegetables, and they were anxious to plant them. How could this land not grow vegetables? Now, Li family Zhuangzi's older children told them that there was something planted in this land. Bring the other children to see it. Give me a form later, I want to know the data. The children immediately agreed. No problem, we will treat it as a game. Work efficiency improved. The work efficiency of every industry improved. The overall strength of the country improved. Before the Lunar New Year, there is still some time. While the weather is warm, build a simple kiln and transport the coal to the place. In winter, at least grow some garlic to eat. Li Yi looked at Zhao Qinlu. Shajin's matter was not urgent. He quickly arranged it. "Dr. Li, don't worry," Zhao Qinlu said. The plan had been given. If he didn't do it well, he would be punished. He knew that Li Yi's kindness to the people had nothing to do with the officials. "Let's eat. Everything will be fine." Li Yi stretched out his chopsticks to pick up the garlic moss. "The information is finally back. Don't spread it out. Grab the stars and write. Aren't the stars a sun?" They had the same dinner, and the same pig slaughtered dishes. Bai Gu ate blood sausage dipped in garlic sauce. There was a lot of minced garlic. It was not allowed to be squeezed into the sauce, let alone pat it. As for slapping garlic, as long as the garlic had been peeled, the kitchen knife could be used to slap it flat. Then when the force was applied, a piece of garlic paste would be formed. However, this kind of garlic paste did not taste good after being slapped out. Usually, when it was used to cook, it was first stir-fried together with scallions and ginger. The large boat operated on the water surface and drifted past the youth's small boat. "Oh," the nervous crowd exclaimed. The youth's small boat was still shaking, but the large boat was already far away. Immediately after, someone rowed a boat to pick up the youth. The youth stayed on the boat and drifted with the current, no longer thinking about the lost shrimp cage. A drone flew over and threw a package on the small boat. "Don't worry about losing the shrimp cage. Come on, young man." After leaving this sentence, the drone flew back to chase the yacht. Two boats approached the youth's small boat. Two people directly jumped on and helped to paddle. The youth was in a daze. His head was always facing upstream. "Lu Xiaohu, it's okay. You saved your life." A man with a birthmark on his forehead said to the youth. Another bald man said, "Our Tang Dynasty's cruiser can still sail like this. I've learned something today. That boat is big and beautiful. It's good to be able to go up and take a look." The youth finally said, "Don't think about it. Unless Li Dongzhu stops here to do something, then you can ask someone to take a look. He said it's fine to stop by the Ba River. Something that can fly. I'll send you a package. See what's inside." Oh, the youth was still regretful. He responded and lowered his head to open the package. After opening it, there was an exquisite piece of paper, an inkstone, a box of ink sticks, and a bundle of writing brushes. In addition, there was a stack of currency coupons of different denominations, and a box of 10 pills sealed with wax paper. "The 4 treasures of the study. I told you to go study. Don't live in Jiangli, keep the money. Don't tell anyone." "We won't tell anyone either." The bald man took a look and told the youth. "There's no need to be afraid. Who dares to steal Li Dongzhu's money?" The man with the birthmark had another theory. "That's true. Now the state government will send someone to see Lu Xiaohu and ask about the situation." "What medicine is this?" The bald man agreed with the new theory and was curious about the medicine. "Calming pill. It's for me." The youth looked at the words and said, He learned some pinyin from the students and learned to read from the newspaper. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.